They'll have a season-high crowd at Winnipeg Stadium this afternoon, and as luck would have it, they're here for the Bombers' most important game of the year. It's the playoffs or bust now. Hello and welcome to Winnipeg Stadium. I'm Scott Oak. The Bombers' game plan in the final weekend of the CFL's regular schedule called first of all for lots of praying, and their prayers were answered. About 15 hours ago at BC Place in Vancouver, there a Saskatchewan win would have given the Green Riders the final playoff spot in the North and left the Bombers on the outside looking in. But the Lions did the Bombers an enormous favor. First quarter, Corey Philpott took off on a 64-yard run for his second touchdown of the game, 22nd of the year. That's a CFL record, and it gave the Lions a 14-3 lead. Lions offense missing in action in the second half. Here, Danny McManus was picked off by Terrell Ulmer. He ran it back for a touchdown to give Saskatchewan a 3-point lead. But it was three fourth-quarter interceptions the other way that made the difference. A Saskatchewan scoring drive snuffed out here on Kelly Sims' interception of Tom Burgess. With 7.5 to go, Lions down by 1. James Jefferson waited on a poorly thrown ball by Burgess, picked it off to set up a Lou Pasaglia field goal. These were the winning points as the Lions broke a 5-game losing streak on a 30-25 win, denying Saskatchewan a playoff spot pending the outcome here at Winnipeg Stadium. Fifth place is the last item of business in the North Division. And now for the first time in about a month, the Bombers have their playoff fate in their own hands. If they win, they're in. It's that simple. If they lose, Saskatchewan is in based on the season series. Hamilton has already confirmed fourth. The Ticats are playing in Baltimore this afternoon. Stallions and Cats tied at 3 in the second quarter. Don Whitman and Dan Kepley will describe the proceedings in Winnipeg this afternoon. Both of them delighted that there is something on the line today. And Kep, if praying was the first part of the Bombers' game plan and it worked, rising to the occasion on the field is the second.
Well, Scott, you truly like the opportunity as a professional athlete to deal with pressure and to be in control of your own destiny. And after the win last night that the BC Lions put on the Saskatchewan Roughriders, that's exactly the position that Winnipeg finds himself today. Win today, you make the playoffs completely in their hands. And we got to tell you that Ottawa has some different feelings, don't they?
Yes, Ottawa feels they can knock off the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Regardless of the outcome last night, Winnipeg's preparations all week revolved around stopping Michael Richardson. They're fully aware of what Richardson can do. Twice, when a member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he won a CFL rushing title. He has played well in recent games, and this afternoon, to win, Winnipeg feels they must stop Michael Richardson. Winnipeg also feels they have to get the ball to Gerald Wilcox.
Well, despite missing 4 games, the 94 most outstanding Canadian in the CFL finds himself only 51 yards short of his 3rd consecutive CFL career game. And what he has to do is to be the go-to guy. And this is the kind of pressure that Gerald Wilcox rises to the challenge to.
Yeah, they got to get the ball to Wilcox this afternoon, Kep, and just as the Rough Riders will focus on Michael Richardson, the Bombers also have to get the ball to Blaze Bryant. Well, it's not exactly balmy in Winnipeg today, and I think everybody knows that as winter closes in on the prairies, there is increased emphasis on the ground game, and James Curry knows all about stopping the ground attack. James is with us today.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Scott, down here it is cold, but on the other side of the field, you have Ottawa coming off probably the best team performance of the season last week versus Hamilton, and they're really geared up for this game this afternoon. They're looking for a chance to stop Edmonton, make that Winnipeg from being in the division finals for the first time in 8 seasons. But K.D. Williams has been their leader on defense this season. K.D. is a throwback to the linebackers that they had here in Winnipeg in the late 80s. He's a hard, tenacious hitter, has a 24-karat gold smile, and he's a guy who can motivate a team.
Thank you very much.
Scott? All right, James, you've talked to the Ottawa players. Do you get the feeling that Sammy Garza is pumped for this homecoming?
Well, this is a big game for Sammy Garza, an opportunity to come back here in Winnipeg and show these fans that he really deserved to be the quarterback here, and he didn't want to leave, and he's hoping to knock Winnipeg out of the playoffs.
Okay, James, coming up on the BF Goodrich TA halftime report today, we'll talk live with the leader of the Saskatchewan defense, Bobby Jurison. He'll join us live from the Riders Hotel in Vancouver. Riders are taking a late flight home today so they can watch this afternoon's game, and we'll preview the postseason. There's balance in the playoffs this year like there has not been in recent years. Well, on the eve of the Quebec referendum, they held a unity rally at the Forks in Winnipeg at noon today, and the Bombers gave out over 26,000 Canadian flags to fans upon their arrival here at Winnipeg Stadium. And now we're prepared to listen as the Winnipeg Girls Choir, 50 strong, performs the Canadian National Anthem.
Please join the Winnipeg Girls Choir in the singing of O Canada.
Nicely done by the Winnipeg Girls Choir with some assistance from Chris Walby and Miles Gorell. Welcome to the prairies in late fall. You can feel winter. There's a threat of snow flurries today, but it's dry as we speak, and we'll take these conditions any day to the ones that Ottawa prevailed in last week over Hamilton when it poured all day in the nation's capital. Bombers 6-11, but 7-11 will put them into the postseason. For that matter, so will a tie. Ottawa hoping to end the season on a 2-game win streak. So those are the stakes in this game, and here are Don and Dan.
Thanks again, Scott. Hi, everybody. Jim Gilstrap very pleased with the way his team performed last week in a victory over the Hamilton Ticats. He hopes the team will continue the same pattern today in that they don't shoot themselves in the foot as they have done so many times during this very difficult season in which they've won just 3 games. They started the year on such a positive note, defeating the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the 28th of June by a score of 25-15. Cal Murphy quite relieved last night by the victory of the BC Lions over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, because now his team can determine its own fate. A win or a tie for Winnipeg, and that means the Bombers will go to the postseason against the Baltimore Stallions in the Southern Division semifinal. Troy Westwood preparing to kick off. The Bombers won the toss. They deferred their choice to the second half. They will have the wind at their backs in the fourth quarter. Kickoff return. This is Antonius Bonner bringing it back to the 41-yard line. And Dan, this is pretty good field position for Sammy Garza to start the initial series for Ottawa.
He's had some good opportunities with good return guys to come out there. Sammy Garza, you can see his numbers through the course of the 95 season, has more to prove than just numbers today, I think, with coming back into Winnipeg Stadium.
Yes, when he left Winnipeg, he had a finger raised in the air as the fans were booing. He'd like to raise a finger again today, but this time point it at the scoreboard. Sammy Garza throws over the middle. It's incomplete. It was intended for Christensen down at the 43-yard line. Offensively, this is the way Ottawa lines up. Mike Shadd, even though he's played just 6 games, got the team's nominee as the outstanding offensive lineman. And they're pretty happy with the way this offensive line has come together in the last few weeks in the nation's capital. Odessa Turner, a 1,000-yard receiver. He broke the 1,000-yard barrier last week against Hamilton, and he's a key man in their passing attack again this afternoon. Pass was intended for Ray Alexander. It's 2 and out for the Ottawa Roughriders, and the fans at Winnipeg Stadium react as Sammy Garza leaves the field. In the brief time he was here as the starter this year, he heard most often a chorus of boos emanating from the stands at Winnipeg Stadium.
And I think in some case unjustifiably so. I think Sammy Garza had to play under conditions. A lot of guys got banged up, a significant number of injuries, and just did not have an opportunity to play with the cohesiveness that Winnipeg had expected to come into the 95 season with.
Lamley punting with the wind, taken on the run by Mark Ricks, and Ricks, of course, is the ex-Ottawa Rough Rider who was grabbed off the practice roster by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he is starting against his former teammates. Reggie Slack is the starting quarterback this afternoon for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Winnipeg feels that he has progressed over the last few weeks. They've attempted to change his throwing style just a little, and he has responded positively.
Well, Reggie Slack, his whole history has been as a run-and-shoot type of quarterback out of the University of Houston, which is slow, methodical, coming out from underneath, making a quick read. Mike Kelly has tried to change those mechanics in the last 6 weeks.
Slack steps up, gets away from the pressure, dumps it off, and the hit is made immediately on Blaze Bryant by Brett Young. And the feeling in Winnipeg is that Young might be the best member of that defensive unit for Ottawa. Dave Van Conant received the team nomination as the outstanding lineman. He's the only member of the offensive line who has played every down all season. Gerald Wilcox this afternoon looking to become a 1,000-yard receiver for a 3rd consecutive year.
But it's going to be very important if Wilcox is to be successful through the course of today, that the offensive line is good, and more importantly, that Blaze Bryant has some success running the ball so they can work the search series and be able to hit Wilcox on those hot routes that he is well noted for.
This would be a big blow if Horace Morris is going to be lost for any length of time for Ottawa. He plays the defensive end position, and since he joined the team, they feel they get much more upfield push from this man.
Horace is not a big man. He's 6'3", about 235, but he's a great speed rush in. Gets up the field, and he has really created havoc since joining the Ottawa defensive team. 6 sacks through the course of this season. Comes in with a lot of playing experience, both through the WLAF and also some tryouts with the Arizona Cardinals and also the New York Jets.
Paul Yatkowski will come in as his replacement. Morris yesterday was involved in a couple of races with teammates, and surprisingly, even against defensive backs, he was winning them. They claim he's got 4.5 speed, and there was some early speed coming off the corner in the person of Charlie Clemens, and I think he is going to be called on the offside unless it's procedure Winnipeg.
Well, Charlie Clemens is one of those guys that is used to the Winnipeg snap counts because he was here as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber.
Ken Lazaruk is the referee this afternoon, and he'll explain the call.
Offside, Ottawa, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Well, he didn't identify the culprit, but at the bottom of the screen, it appeared to be Charlie Clemens for 1.
Pick one of 4, either one. Charlie just unfortunately has to be the guy that lines up right into the face of Ken Lazaruk, the referee, and Lazaruk saw him first, so it could have been one of 4 that were jumping to the sound rather than the movement of the football.
Second and about 1 for Winnipeg. Blaze Bryant lost the football. It's still loose, and it looks as though Gerald Wilcox got back to cover up. Blaze Bryant, second and 1, lost the football, and fortunately for the Bombers, Gerald Wilcox was there to scoop it up.
Terrific surge off that defensive left side. John Kropke and Derek McCready do a good job of getting penetration. This is just going to be a search series. Give the ball deep to Blaze. The ball gets stuffed inside. Comes out, then it's a scramble for it. Winnipeg comes up with it, puts them in a punting situation.
Gerald Wilcox actually had 2 shots at grabbing the loose ball after it popped away from Blaze Bryant. Cal Murphy had quite a comment today about Bob Cameron. Someone asked how long he thought Bob Cameron would continue punting for this team. He said, I don't know how much longer he's going to punt, but when he goes, I might also go. Alexander was driven back about 7 or 8 yards. Doug Hawking was the first to make contact with him. It's still scoreless, 12:28 remaining in the opening quarter. Cap, you never ever thought about dressing up on Halloween like that, did you?
Unfortunately, I don't think that I ever had to. I was disguised most of the time anyway, running around.
First and 10 for Ottawa, back at the 25-yard line. Bob Swift, a former member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers during his playing career. Jim Gilstrap, a former assistant coach with Winnipeg. There are a lot of Winnipeg connections with this Ottawa organization. We'll tell you about more of them as the game progresses. Mike Richardson is one. We talked about him in the opening. He picks up just a couple of yards. And, of course, he won a couple of rushing titles with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers when he was here. Stan Mikowicz reached a milestone earlier this season. The nose tackle played his 200th game in the CFL, all with Winnipeg, on September the 29th. Del Lyles returns to the lineup, and Corus Irvin is playing an inside halfback position this afternoon for Winnipeg. Penalty flag in the play as the pass is intended out in the flat for Turner. He was covered by David Poole.
Having a chance to talk with Don Burrell, the defensive backfield coach, he felt that his corners were going to be challenged, particularly with the outside receivers of the Ottawa Rough Riders, due to the advantage that the Ottawa felt that they may have with their height of those receivers.
Calvin Smith was offside in the play, and Garza's not at all happy with the hit he took as he released the pass. Maybe we can get a better look at it on the replay.
Calvin Smith comes in off the side. And at the last minute, number 44, K.D. Williams, comes in, gets the right hand in toward the gut. Almost looks like a little bit of a punch, but not much of anything.
On second down, the pass over the middle for Christensen, and he's got a first down, taking the ball to the 40-yard line. Darius Watson came up to make the tackle.
I think this is a key element to the Ottawa attack today, is to be able to use their inside receivers on the quick hot routes, quick openings, and try to see if they can spread the defense of Winnipeg across the field. That's going to open it up for big curl routes or quick post patterns by the outside receivers.
Odessa Turner comes wide right. Poole is out defending against him. Handoff inside to Struthers, and Struthers is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Mike Roach felt that trying to stop Michael Richardson would be the big task his team faced this afternoon, and he is now signaling in the defense. He wants his team in for this second down play.
Mike Roach, one of the most well-respected defensive coordinators in the CFL. And he's got the kind of defense out there that like he likes. A tough, tenacious one that flies around and hits people.
Garza's pass is knocked down. And I think it may have been Kenny Walker who got a hand on it. Garza was being pursued by K.D. Williams. And as he was flushed out of the pocket, Walker may have got a hand in the way of the throw.
When you talk about speed rushes and getting away from two people, he handles Mike Richardson, able to get around, then use the speed to close the gap between he and Garza. Gets a shot in Garza's back.
Ottawa forced into a punting situation, and whatever defensive alignment Roach had called, it obviously worked for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Ricks won't get an opportunity to field the third down punt as it bounces out of bounds at the Winnipeg 31-yard line. We have played 4 minutes and 59 seconds. It's still scoreless. Ottawa and Winnipeg scoreless this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium. One of 3 games on this final Sunday in the CFL. Baltimore leads Hamilton 6-3. At halftime, a low-scoring game at Memorial Stadium, and this evening San Antonio will host Birmingham in the final regular season game, and those two teams are battling for home field advantage in the playoffs. This is Boyko on the receiving end of the slack throw, and he will be close to a first down.
Boyko could be a key today to the attack of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Only the fact that he's not noted for his speed. He's not a deep threat, but he's a good possession catcher as a receiver. And if he's not paid any attention to, he can just do these kind of catches all day long.
And he's a very versatile individual. He can play the wide out, he can play the slot, he can handle punt returns and kickoff returns. Wilcox grabs the pass, and boy, that came very close to being intercepted. Brett Young thought for a moment that he was going to pick it off, and had he been able to get his paws on it, Kep, he was gone for 6.
Well, we talked about the throwing mechanics of Reggie Slack, of having to get his hips around and getting that arm cocked and throw it, but now you got to get it out there with a little bit of speed and with some velocity on it. Joe Wilcox with great concentration, good defensive move, and the move made by Brett Young. When you're going to make that play, either 2 things have to happen. You've got to make a knockdown on the ball, or you got to have that trail arm grab some cloth and make the tackle.
Chris Johnstone, the ball carrier, gets across midfield. You saw number 23 lined up against 87, Ottawa's best defensive back against Winnipeg's primary receiver.
Chris Johnstone is one of those guys that just gives you a hard day's work every time he comes to the office. Little forgotten about at times. Sooner or later, he comes up, he makes the big run as far as the short yardage, or he catches a screen pass for 50 or 60 yards.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the Ottawa side of midfield, just across the midfield stripe. Slack operating out of the shotgun. He's looking deep for Wilcox. He's got it. Down at the 15-yard line, he gets up and dives to the 12.
Wait, you mentioned about one of the best receivers in the CFL against one of the best defensive backs.
Holding, Winnipeg, number 57, 10-yard penalty, first down repeated.
Oh, that wipes out a huge gain. The holding call against McNeil, and also a 1,000-yard season for Wilcox.
Lloyd Lewis, the big defensive tackle, works a good play as far as trying to get away around Brent McNeil. McNeil just kind of gathers him up around the neck and takes him down and is called on the holding.
1st and 20 now, Winnipeg back at the 45-yard line. 8 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Last night, the Bombers were watching BC knock off Saskatchewan. The Rough Riders watching this game from Winnipeg Stadium, hoping that Ottawa can do them a favor. Reggie Slack is going to try and run for the first down. He'll be close, but there's another penalty flag. And it was thrown in the vicinity of the 45-yard line, and this could also be going against Winnipeg. It's another holding call.
I think that's what we're going to get. Some of the receivers tried to come back and help out Reggie Slack once they saw that he was going to run and try to scramble for their first down.
Offside, Winnipeg, number 17, before the first down, 10-yard penalty, first down repeated.
Well, I think he made a holding gesture with the...
I think the holding penalty took place downfield after Slack had picked up the first down, but of course it was voided by the offside call back at the line of scrimmage.
Well, there was certainly the flag of holding taking place down the field. We didn't see the second flag that was on by the line judge at the line of scrimmage, and that nullified the play to begin with.
Well, if it's an offside call, they've penalized them an additional 10 yards. So it must have been holding, because it is 1st and 30 from the 35. Hand off to Blaze Bryant. Bryant is caught from behind by Charlie Clemens. Clemens was in the Winnipeg lineup for the first meeting of the season. As a matter of fact, there are 3 members of the Rough Riders who played for the Blue Bombers in Game 1 of the year on June the 28th.
Speaking of guys that played for the Blue Bombers, Lloyd Lewis is one of those guys that played for a few years here, particularly in the '93 Grey Cup year. A guy that just, for 11 years, has given you effort and nothing but a hard worker for any team that he has represented.
And up front, the Rough Riders feel they are very strong with Lewis and Kropke in the middle. The pass was intended for Gerald Wilcox. He got a hand on it. It's incomplete. When you add Horace Morris and Derek McCready to the combination of Lewis and Kropke, that's as solid a front four as there is in the league.
Well, as James Curry had mentioned at the onset of this game, how well they played last week. The 4 units, guys up front, Morris, Lewis, Kropke, and McCready, have done an excellent job of getting the pressure on quarterbacks and forcing some throws to be just off their mark. Not in this case. The ball went right through the hands of Gerald Wilcox.
Bob Cameron's 3rd down punt. It hangs. Alexander grabs it on the run, and Alexander will give Ottawa pretty good field position as he brings it back to the 47-yard line.
Canadian Tire has guaranteed low prices every day on MotoMaster batteries, so you can get one whenever you need one, and you won't get left out in the cold.
Sammy Garza in his 2nd consecutive start as quarterback for the Rough Riders. He took over in the 3rd last game of the season in the 2nd half against San Antonio. Performed well, got a start last week, won the game, and is the starter again against his former teammates, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. His first pass is over the head of the intended receiver, Ray Alexander. I thought Garza put things in perspective when he talked about some of the criticism he received in Ottawa. He said in Ottawa it was fair and about football. In Winnipeg, he had to go through the Sammy son-in-law criticism.
Well, I think that's a part of it. He is out there representing himself as a football player, and somewhere you got to leave the personal stuff on the side.
Christensen grabs it for a first down at the 50, but there's another penalty flag, and this one is going against Winnipeg. I think it may be a late hit on Sammy Garza.
Well, Sammy, they've been all around him all game long so far. Every time he's released the ball, somebody has hit him and knocked him to the turf.
Roughing the passer, Winnipeg number 72, 15-yard penalty. First down, Ottawa.
The penalty is against Colin Scribner, and that was after Garza had released the pass, and Ottawa is now first and 10 from the Winnipeg 35. The Blue Bombers so far in this opening quarter, Kep, are doing something Cal Murphy was concerned about, self-destructing a little.
Well, they're just not playing very disciplined football out there, and I know that Cal Murphy personally expects his team to be disciplined and not take cheap penalties.
Ken Abraire made the catch. He was tackled by Watson. Abraire last week blocked a punt against Hamilton, recovered it, scooped it up, and ran for a touchdown, his first of the year. Now, he was signed by Winnipeg as a free agent in the off-season, but failed the medical here.
Had some problems with a knee injury last year, but as you said, came into the Winnipeg camp as a free agent, did not pass the physical, has not played very much for the Ottawa Rough Riders, that only being his 7th catch of the season.
First and 10. Garza looks into the corner of the end zone. It's incomplete. He was trying to find Odessa Turner down there, and Odessa Turner was well covered.
He was well covered by a veteran that knows a lot of routes, and he's seen a lot of moves in his day. Corus Irvin in his 5th year. Take a look. He just got to the inside, of course, and Odessa Turner's trying to run the post corner. Corus is sitting there running the route and the pattern for him, and just not letting him have any cushion whatsoever.
Irvin has played in Hamilton, Toronto, Baltimore, and Shreveport, and now he's with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's 2nd and 10. Garza, good protection. It was intended for Alexander, knocked down by Garrett, but there's also a penalty flag on the play.
Legal procedure, Ottawa number 88, declined. 3rd down.
This time the penalty call goes against Ottawa, so it's a 3rd down play with 4:25 remaining, and this will be a field goal attempt by Wayne Lamley.
Sammy Garza with a little bit of a half rollout sprint out to the wide side of the field. Then he wants to throw back to Ray Alexander. Shannon Garrett, who initially was scheduled to play the left halfback, has been switched to the left corner, to the right corner, I should say. Gets an opportunity to make a big play.
Lamley's 32-yard field goal attempt is good, and the Ottawa Rough Riders are first on the board with 4:06 remaining in the opening quarter.
Well, here in Winnipeg, Ottawa leads 3-0, and there are 4 members of the Saskatchewan Roughriders watching this game with more than a passing interest. Bobby Jurison and 3 of his defensive mates. It's okay, Bobby, you can have a drink on the air, don't worry. 3 of his defensive mates are watching this game. Gary Rogers, Ron Getz, and Kenora's Dave Van Bellingham. We'll talk live with Jurison at halftime. Of course, the stakes are simple. If Winnipeg wins, they're in. If they lose, Saskatchewan gets the playoff spot, Don.
Yeah, Bobby, you might be able to do a little celebrating with the glass you had in your hand if Winnipeg continues to have problems moving the football against Ottawa as they have faced thus far.
Well, but knowing Bobby Jurison, you know that is distilled pure water.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, because his body is a temple.
3:30 remaining in the first quarter. 3-0. Ottawa leads. The destiny of the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the hands of their namesakes from the nation's capital as Reggie Slack sets up on 2nd and 11 over the middle to Wilcox. Wilcox tripped up by Charlie Clemens. He reached forward but is going to be about 2 yards shy of a first down.
Not the initial receiver that Reggie Slack wanted to go to. Joe Wilcox stayed in, made a little block, then he's just going to sneak out underneath. Ottawa in a zone coverage, and Clemens does a good job of coming up and reacting up to the throw, making the tackle short of the first down.
Clemens went to Ottawa from the Winnipeg roster at the urging of assistant coach Mike Murphy, the son of Winnipeg head coach Cal Murphy, who realized that Winnipeg had some extra linebackers in camp. Excellent kick by Cameron. Alexander back to the 20-yard line. Alexander comes up the middle, but there's a penalty flag. Alexander to the sidelines, forced out of bounds. Blaze Bryant got to him to force him out of bounds, but there's a penalty flag back at the 25, and this one is going to be coming back.
It's going to come back for an illegal block, and I think the number is going to be 7. Emmanuel Martin tries to hustle down to try to get a shot on that punt return, but the block that he made was right in the middle of somebody's back.
And that nullifies a 56-yard return by Alexander.
Legal block, Ottawa, number 7, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Emmanuel Martin guilty of the illegal block.
Just to the right of your screen, coming into the play against number 43. That's Kevin Robson, who also got downfield very quickly. Draws the illegal block and backs up Ottawa deep in their own end.
1st and 10 for Ottawa. They are at their own 14-yard line. Garza sends Odessa Turner wide to the right. Under pressure, Garza throwing over the middle to Richardson, and Richardson finds some room. Richardson gets another block to the outside, and finally he's hauled down by Corus Irvin, but not before he got to the Winnipeg 35. And can I hear that cheering coming from that hotel room in Vancouver?
I think Bobby may have put down his glass for a minute to clap his hands. Good screen passing. This is the way you take care of a hot defense that gets after you. You throw the quick screen to him, and there's nobody, I don't think, better in this league at running the ball with a quick screen than this guy, Michael Richardson.
He took 60 yards for Richardson. 1st and 10. Ottawa at the Winnipeg 37. Handoff inside to Richardson. He bounces off a couple of tackles and takes it inside the 30. The Bombers are fully aware of what Richardson is capable of doing. A couple of years ago, when he played with Winnipeg, he had a huge regular season game against Hamilton, and then in the postseason ran for better than 200 yards against Hamilton.
One of the greatest assets that K.D. Williams possesses is his track down speed. This guy has got great pursuit as far as getting down the line of scrimmage and making the tackle once he gets there.
Garza's pass knocked down. He gets it again, and he's dropped for a loss back to the 45. Well, I've seen a couple of unusual things this year in the CFL, and that is one of the strangest. Garza's pass deflected right back into his hands, and he's dropped for a loss back to the 45.
And what KD's going to be this time, as Garza's going to throw the ball. Now watch K.D. Williams come through the line of scrimmage. Gets his hands up, knocks it back. Now Sammy's just going to be an athlete, and he's going to react to that. The ball comes back. He makes the catch. And actually, K.D. Williams is right there to make the tackle. Sammy Garza, had you had the chance to think about it rather than react, you'd have just knocked the ball down and not taken the loss.
That's like the old story about draining the swamp. When you're up to your neck in alligators, you don't really think about the initial objective. This will be a field goal attempt of 52 yards. Wayne Lamley's previous kick from 32 yards out. It's wide, taken in the end zone by Boyko, and Boyko has some room to the sidelines. And he brings it back to the 24, but there was a flag as Burns was taken out of the play by what it appears the officials have deemed an illegal block.
Illegal block against number 27, Corus Irvin, who was trying to get down there to help Boyko, try to get him to the wall, but there's the kind of idea. And to his credit, they talked it over, decided it wasn't a flag, wasn't a penalty, and the play stands as we saw it.
Well, initially, it looked as though it was a good hit. And obviously, after a bit of a conference, the officials agreed with that decision, and it will be 1st and 10 Winnipeg. The Bombers are just shy of their own 25-yard line, and this could be the final play of the opening quarter. Over the middle for Gerald Wilcox, and this is a Winnipeg 1st down if he gets beyond the 35, and he has. And that is also the final play of the opening quarter. And here at Winnipeg Stadium, the Ottawa Rough Riders lead the Blue Bombers 3-0. because of the hearing difficulties Kenny Walker has, the Bombers have an individual at the bench signing for him and interpreting the calls of John Payne.
It's just amazing to think about that. You know how hard it is to play football when you think you can hear and see everything. Kenny Walker is an amazing athlete.
The pass intended for Gerald Wilcox on 1st and 10 on the opening play of the second quarter. And it will be 2nd and 10 Winnipeg. Wilcox with 27 yards. He needs 24 more for a 1,000-yard season. Of course, he had a big gain of about 55, wiped out by a penalty in the first quarter.
Right now, he still needs about 24 yards to break that 1,000-yard mark for the 95 season. It's imperative, I think, for Winnipeg at this time to try to establish the rushing game a little more with Blaze Bryant, freeze up those linebackers, make them think a little bit, then come back with some play-action pass. There's where Gerald Wilcox is most effective.
Movement off the corner again by Charlie Clemens, but up the middle goes Reggie Slack, and Slack takes it down to the 46-yard line. Remy Trudell made the tackle, but there was an early penalty flag, and it appeared as though Clemens may have moved prematurely.
Offside, Ottawa, number 48, decline. First down, Winnipeg.
Right at the bottom of your screen. Charlie Clemens just going to make a movement, gets caught in the neutral zone. Reggie Slack sees it, knows that he has a free play, takes the quarterback sneak, quarterback draw right up to the middle. Winnipeg declining the penalty. Big gain for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
That's the second time that Clemens has jumped prior to the ball being snapped. Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the 47 of Ottawa. Slack was looking for Tim Daniel. Not so sure he should have thrown the pass in that area because there appeared to be 3 Ottawa defenders around Tim Daniel. In the first quarter, the Ottawa Rough Riders with 62 passing yards to 41 for Winnipeg. Of course, the big gain for Winnipeg wiped out by a penalty, and that was the pass to Gerald Wilcox.
Neither team having success rushing the ball against 2 very tough defenses on both sides of the ball, even though each one of these teams, Winnipeg giving up 70 touchdowns through the course of the 95 season, Ottawa 68.
Screen pass to Stigl as he cuts back inside, now goes outside, and he's gone. Mike Kelly was telling us yesterday, Dan, that Stigl, learning the slot position, has been improving every game, and I think Kelly, the assistant coach and offensive coordinator, will be all smiles with what he has just seen from Milt Stigl.
And you have every reason to be excited about that. Since they've lost the services of Gerald Alpin, the 2 Wilcox and Alpin worked simultaneously in the middle as slot backs. Now they needed somebody to complement Gerald Wilcox. Stigl being in the man, and with that play.
So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a 7-3 lead with 13:28 remaining in the first half. We'll return with the Winnipeg kickoff after this. The Bombers moved 5 plays, 85 yards, culminated in a 51-yard pass to Milt Stigl for the major score. He took the hitch screen and then used his speed to advantage.
Excellent blocking out there. A hitch screen has been a key play through the course of every team in the 95 season. This time, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers used it to perfection.
Antonius Bonner waits for the ball at the 15-yard line. He finds a seam up the middle. He got tripped up at about the 45 and stumbled forward to the 53, but on the kickoff returns, Ottawa has generally had pretty good field position.
Giving Sammy Garza the opportunity to come out there and start on a short field.
13:20 remaining in the half. Let's go to the sidelines and join Scott.
All right, Don, James Curry hasn't watched a game from the sideline since he played with Saskatchewan in '89, and he doesn't miss it a bit. But, James, you've been struck by the lack of emotion on the Winnipeg bench.
In a game of this magnitude, you'd think it'd be more emotion on the Winnipeg bench. They've been very flat here in the first half.
How about Sammy Garza? He's been moving the ball, but he hasn't been as mobile as he was in the game you covered last week.
Last week in the game in Ottawa, Sammy did a lot of half rolls to buy himself extra time through 7- and 8-yard passes, and he was very effective.
All right, James, we'll see you at halftime. Don?
I'm wondering if James down there is getting the urge to throw a forearm shiver at Scott every once in a while.
I don't think he'll hit Scott, but I tell you, hey, James Curry would like to get out there and hit some of these guys on the football field. He wants to be in between the lines.
Dave Donnell, the ball carrier, and picked up about a yard. It will be 2nd and 9 for Ottawa.
Tough situation to try to run counter kind of plays against a speed-oriented defense like Winnipeg. They can track it down.
Over the middle for Christensen. First down for Ottawa at the Winnipeg 43-yard line. Ottawa throwing a bit of a new wrinkle at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with Donnell coming in as a receiver.
Sammy Garza is feeling a lot of this Winnipeg pressure, and he tends to throw this ball off balance. It doesn't have a lot of zip on a lot of his passes. It almost looks and feels like he senses that heat coming, and it's taken away from stepping up, delivering the ball the way he normally would do it, and throw something with a little bit of zip on it.
Now Donnell has gone to the bench. A handoff to Richardson, and he drives straight ahead for about 4. Jim Gilstrap was an assistant coach with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers before taking over the head coaching reins with Ottawa this year. And the big blow for Ottawa and head coach Gilstrap was the loss of Danny Barrett, who went through training camp with the team.
Well, if you can remember that opening game, Danny Barrett was the quarterback when Ottawa surprised the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 25-15 in Ottawa.
Sammy Garza was the Winnipeg quarterback that day in the opening game loss. Now Garza looking to the sidelines for Christensen. Incomplete. Darius Watson was there defending against him. So was Shannon Garrett.
Sammy Garza may be making some mistakes in his reads, and he's throwing the ball into double coverage. Tough catch for any receiver. Good reaction right at the last minute by Shannon Garrett to try to come up with the pick.
Winnipeg leading by a score of 7-3, 11-13 remaining in the first half. And Wayne Lamley is now going to attempt a 45-yard field goal. The wind has shifted from the start of the football game. It's more from the west now than it was in pregame warm-up. I was talking with Lamley, and he said he was having problems kicking into the north wind, but now it's more of a side wind, and this is going to be a fake, obviously. Richardson takes the ball, but won't get the first down. Boy, they telegraphed that one. There wasn't really much of a fake there, was there?
There wasn't much, only because they started their movement way too soon. It allowed a very sharp, focused defense of Winnipeg to make some adjustments, to get out there, cover the areas that they needed to cover, and it didn't allow Michael Richardson any place to go.
You don't usually see the guy leaving the position he's in to kick the ball quite this early.
See, right now they're just starting to move. The ball should already be snapped, but there's about 2 or 3 counts there. And at the last minute, the ball's dished out to Michael Richardson. But here's that quick defense that can pursue down the line of scrimmage. Makes the tackles. Kelly Rush is one of the guys there. Also, Corus Irving come up.
And K.D. Williams with his 24-carat smile.
I wish I'd have had that when I was a linebacker. That would have looked good on me.
I don't know about that.
I couldn't afford it. That's just flat out the way it was. Norm Kimball wouldn't pay me any money back then.
I think you had better uses for your gold.
In the bank, that's where they need to be, Whit.
So the Blue Bombers stop the Rough Riders on downs. And Slack gets the play away just in time. He beat the 20-second clock, but he couldn't connect with Milt Stegall. Here it's 7-3, Winnipeg leading Ottawa. The other game this afternoon at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, and the Stallions have now jumped into a 20-3 lead, and Mike Pringle is out of the football game. You talked earlier, Kep, about Gerald Alphen, the ex-Blue Bomber, now with Baltimore. Tracy Ham threw him a touchdown pass.
Great receivers. He can compliment that other guy named Armstrong on the slots.
2nd and 10. Slack from the shotgun, and he got the pass away to Stiegel, but Brett Young recovered quickly to prevent him from getting a first down. Throughout the year, I think Young has probably been, without question, the most consistent defensive back with Ottawa.
Well, he certainly has been around the ball a lot. 5 picks already through the course of the 95 season, 12 knockdowns. He's second in the team with tackles. What scares me about the Ottawa defense, and it doesn't scare me, it would alarm me if I was the defensive coordinator, Remy Trudell is the leading tackler. Brett Young is the second leading tackler. That means a lot of guys are getting through the line of scrimmage, getting deep quickly for them to make those kind of tackles, that kind of numbers.
Yeah, you never like to see your safety as the leading tackler. Alexander cannot do anything with a perfectly angled punt by Bob Cameron on 3rd down. There is a penalty flag, though. We'll sort it out when we return. Bob Cameron has punted more times than any other kicker in the CFL this year. He just unloaded a 56-yarder that Alexander had no opportunity to return. In addition, Ken Evrere was flagged for rough play, and that takes the ball back to the 7-yard line. 1st and 10, Ottawa. Garza looks along the sidelines, and Alexander and Shannon Garrett were in a jump ball situation, but even had Alexander come down with it, he would have been out of bounds.
He was out of bounds. Just an off-course throw by Sammy Garza. Good coverage by Shannon Garrett. And this is exactly the kind of situation that a Winnipeg defense likes to get an opponent in, deep in their own end, 2nd and long. Look for some heat to come in Sammy Garza's face.
Garza has only been able to complete 5 of 13 attempts for 80 yards thus far, and there's a penalty flag that is going to be a procedure call against Ottawa. Boy, they should have the Maple Leaf in the middle of all those flags that are flying this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium.
Looks like we may get a quick call, an illegal procedure against Mike Jovanovic.
Legal procedure, Ottawa, number 51. After this is the goal line. 2nd down, repeated.
My apologies, that's David Black. And David Black, being an ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber, he knows the speed of this defense. He was just trying to get a head start to get to where he needed to go.
He's lined up against a longtime friend and teammate, Stan Mikowicz. And Black, 33 years of age, who lives in Winnipeg in the offseason, has indicated this might very well be his final game as a professional. Intended for Alexander, and it was knocked down by the corner, David Poole.
David Poole just doing an excellent job of coverage. Great break on the ball. Dustin Turner's going to come off the line of scrimmage. Doesn't make much of a fake. David Poole, having good vision into the backfield, is able to make a better break on the ball. Comes back toward the ball. Turner stayed out and hung out there. Didn't make any move to come back towards Sammy Garza to make that reception. David Poole almost coming up with a big pick and a big turnover deep in Ottawa's territory.
8:39 remaining in the first half. Winnipeg is going to get the ball back in excellent field position, unless it's a safety touch conceded by Ottawa. And that is the case, although Lamely is taking his time before running out the back of the end zone, and there is also a penalty flag on the play.
They're going to have holding against the Ottawa Rough Riders on that call. I don't know, if you're going to take a safety right there, go ahead and take a safety. There's 8:24 to go. It's not like you're going to take off enough time off the clock that it's really
holding.
Mean
Ottawa
anything.
number 44, decline. Safety touch.
Yeah, that's something that's always puzzled me. Guys running around in the end zone, and yet they can be using the time to their advantage later on in the half or in the quarter.
Dwayne Knight is the linebacker that's charged for holding against another good linebacker, special team player, number 35, Brendan Rogers.
Well, each team is a specialist on special teams. Brendan Rogers fulfills that role for Winnipeg. And for the Ottawa Rough Riders, they've got a couple, Stefan Reed, Nick Richards.
And another guy named Chris Sangaris that used to be here. It's like old home week with the Winnipeg guys coming back to Winnipeg Stadium and playing here in front of a crowd that used to cheer them quite a bit as opposed to boo them and cheer them a little bit as they're doing today.
And a pretty good crowd this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium, about 27,000 watching the action. 1st and 10 Winnipeg from the 35-yard line. The Bombers now in front 9-3. Pass to Wilcox, he can't hang on. Winnipeg, of course, had the choice. They could either scrimmage following the safety touch from the 35 or have Ottawa kick off. They opted for the former.
Search series. They fake the ball to the inside. The halfback comes to the outside. Quick post by Gerald Wilcox, and that's just a catch that he has to make if Winnipeg is going to maintain a lead and have an opportunity to win this football game.
And it almost appears at times as though Winnipeg is trying to force feed Gerald Wilcox.
Well, they may be. He's a good guy to try to force feed, but all of us, if you do not get an opportunity to get the ball to him, just like that, you're going to get the kind of heat. You don't have an opportunity to get the football into Gerald Wilcox's hand, but when you do, he's got to come up with the big play if he is the go-to guy.
Well, Reggie Slack had the ball stripped away, and he was fortunate that he was able to scramble back and pick it up.
Just look at the power of Lloyd Lewis inside against Kevin Robson. Does an excellent job getting upfield, shedding off of that block, stripping the ball loose. Reggie Slack is the guy that comes up with the turnover.
Alexander is the lone man back for Ottawa on this 3rd down punt by Bob Cameron. 7:25 remaining in the first half. A low snap, and I think Bonner got a piece of it. It's picked off by Martin, and Martin is going to head to the end zone. I think Antonius Bonner may have deflected it. This would be a no yards call, perhaps against Winnipeg, so I'm sure the touchdown will stand.
Decline. Touchdown.
So the Emmanuel Martin touchdown will stand, and the Ottawa Rough Riders move in front by a score of 10-9. Well, I'm sure in the minds of the coaching staff, this will atone for the earlier miscue where Martin was penalized on a fine return by Ray Alexander.
Really did, and he made an honest effort to come with great speed from the outside, got just a piece of the ball, enough to knock it down, made some contact with the kicker, Cameron.
And now Lamley with the point after, and the Ottawa Rough Riders have a 10-9 lead. 7:01 the time remaining in the first half. Well, obviously, conceding the safety touch was a good move by Ottawa, because on Winnipeg's ensuing possession, the Rough Riders were able to partially block the 3rd down punt, and Emmanuel Martin takes it to the end zone from 28 yards out, and now the Ottawa Rough Riders have a 1-point lead. Stiegel waits for the ball at the 17. And he gets back to the 37, a return of 20.
Okay, now let's take a look at this play. Look at the second guy on the inside. That is going to have, that's Brent Young. He's going to come to the outside, make the block as these two guys crisscross. Now what I want you to take a look at is watch right here. This is Blaze Bryant as he goes inside. Watch how he steps inside. Then he's unable to come back outside to get a good block on Brent Young. That allowed him just to get a piece of the punt.
And Emmanuel Martin took it into the end zone. Ottawa leads 10-9. Blaze Bryant, the ball carrier, and he will pick up just a couple of yards before he's tripped up by Lloyd Lewis and middle linebacker Ray Bernard.
But I really think that some of those circumstances that are taking place on the field right now are good. I think what that happens to say to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, if the Ottawa Rough Riders are here, we're here to play, we're here to win this football game, and we're not going to make it easy for you.
Well, the last time the Ottawa Rough Riders won back-to-back games was in the 1992 season. They have yet to win on the road this year, but they lead by a single point at the moment. On second down, Slack's in trouble again, and down he goes. And it is Derek McCready who brings him down.
Excellent coverage in the secondary of Ottawa. All receivers are covered. Reggie Slack has no place to go. Good pressure up front. They bring the middle linebacker, Ray Bernard, on a delayed blitz, but not before Derek McCready has a chance to sack Reggie Slack.
Cameron stands back at his own 23-yard line. 5:47 remaining in the half here at Winnipeg Stadium. Alexander waits for it at the 27-yard line, gets a block, tries to get to the outside and spins his way up to about the 38.
Canadian Tire has guaranteed low prices every day on MotoMaster batteries, so you can get one whenever you need one, and you won't get left out in the cold.
Cameron's punt was a 45-yarder, and 12 yards on the return by Alexander as the Riders scrimmage 1st and 10 from their own 38. Toss inside to Richardson. Richardson lost control of it, got a good bounce, and got it back.
A little shovel pass. I thought that is called an incomplete pass. The whistle should have blown.
Well, 3 weeks from today, we'll be at Taylor Field in Regina for the 83rd Grey Cup. And those guys watching in that hotel room in Vancouver, waiting to head back to Regina, hope that they are going to continue their preparations for a possible appearance on home field in the Grey Cup.
Well, you know it's going to be a big party in Regina, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders want to be half of the people that's going to be there enjoying it.
Ellingson takes the ball down to the Winnipeg 47-yard line. You know, in the past 24 hours, there are 4 quarterbacks in the CFL who have had an impact on the fate of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. All of them former Blue Bomber quarterbacks. 3 played last night: Warren Jones, Tom Burgess, and Danny McManus. But the quarterback, Cal Murphy, might be fearing the most is number 15, Sammy Garza. Garza, the screen to Richardson, and Richardson gets a couple of good blocks, and Richardson is down to the 25-yard line. 3:55 remaining in the half.
Again, as I said earlier, what they want to do, Michael Richardson is right here. They're just going to fake it. Good blocking out in front. Michael Richardson is going to escape out, dump the ball off to him. The blocking downfield is what is the key play. Then Richardson just finds a little opening and uses that burst of speed to pick up big yardage.
Ottawa 1st and 10 from the Winnipeg 26. Again, it's Richardson to the outside, and Richardson is down to the Winnipeg 7-yard line. Dan, in talking to Cal Murphy, he said this morning he felt that Sammy Garza would try and utilize Mike Richardson, and in the last few plays, Garza has indeed.
Well, when you have an athlete in your backfield on your team, the caliber of a Mike Richardson, and I think all these guys have a little bit subconsciously in their mind, as you said, ex-Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they want to prove a little something when they come back to a place where they used to play. Every athlete is like that, and Michael Richardson is no exception.
And Richardson also lives in Winnipeg during the offseason. With 3 minutes remaining in the half, the Rough Riders lead by a point, and they're in position to add to their lead. They are 1st and goal from the Winnipeg 8-yard line. Mike Richardson has caught 4 passes for 102 yards thus far in the game.
Man-to-man coverage. Sammy Garza should get the one-on-one that he needs.
Alexander in the end zone, can't make the catch. Shannon Garrett was defending against him.
Don Burrell, the defensive back coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, felt it was imperative to play some man-to-man coverage and play press man-to-man. The defensive backs to come up tight on the line of scrimmage and not allow the receivers to get off the line of scrimmage. Make it tough for them. Shannon Garrett does a great job locating the ball, getting his hands on it, causing a knockdown.
It will be 2nd and goal, Ottawa, from the Winnipeg Winnipeg 8. Richardson, the lone setback. Now he's in motion. Garza goes down. K.D. Williams makes the sack.
KD is one of those throwback kind of guys that could have played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers any year that they had. They've been noted for tenacious linebackers, tough, loud, guys that get the job done. Good press coverage again. It forces Sammy Garza to have to hold this ball just a little longer than he wants to, but not before the quickness of K.D. Williams is able to come off the corner and come off the corner hard and get in Sammy's face.
Lamley will attempt a 21-yard field goal. And the kick is good as the Ottawa Rough Riders move into a 4-point lead with 2:18 remaining in the first half. But Jim Gilstrap has to be disappointed that his team was unable to punch it in on 1st and goal from the 8.
Well, they've had some success of moving the ball down the field. Then when you get into the red zone, you certainly want to be able to come away with the major. Let's go down to Scott.
All right, Don, Bobby Jurist and the rest of the Riders watching this game in Vancouver with more than a passing interest, hoping to back into the playoffs on a Winnipeg loss. Jurist will join us live on the BF Goodrich TA halftime, and we'll handicap the playoffs. Things moving fast now. 3 weeks today, we'll be in Regina for the Grey Cup. Next weekend, a well-balanced field of 8 begins sorting out which 2 teams get there. Hey, Bobby, I know you like what you see here so far today, don't you? Well, I'm sure confirmed at halftime. Don, back to you.
I notice he's also hitting his glass. Pass complete to Tim Daniel for about a gain of 3. Or either that or it's empty.
It may be empty, but you know, it's a little warmer out there in Vancouver, so I think it probably evaporated. You know, it was the heat and the humidity that did it. Talking with Coach Gilstrap, he was talking about how do you stop Reggie Slack. He said you just don't stop him, you try to slow him down.
This is a quarterback draw, and Slack is not going to be slowed down until he gets to the 49, and that's a Winnipeg first down.
Reggie's going to take the ball. His key read, if there's anybody over the nose, make the read, go away from that. John Kropke sealed off on the outside, opens up the gap extremely wide. Reggie Slack has got a good burst of speed. He's able to pick up the first down, keep this drive alive for the Blue Bombers.
Slack moves back into the shotgun. He was looking for Stiegel, and it is intercepted. Picked off. Antonius Bonner on the far side of the field as Slack was trying to go for Stiegel. So the Ottawa Rough Riders snuff out a potential Winnipeg drive.
Half roll, Reggie Slack, he gets his hips turned a little bit, but the ball doesn't have a lot of zip on it, and it allows Antonius Bonner to make a great break on the ball, come up underneath Stiegel, and come up with the pick. Not a well-thrown ball by Reggie Slack.
1:31 remaining in the half. Fake inside. Over the middle for Turner, and Turner is a first down at the Winnipeg 47. Talking about well-thrown balls and some zip on it, there certainly was on the throw by Garza.
When you're playing man-to-man coverage, what they're having to do, Winnipeg likes to leave the safety in the middle. The halfbacks jump on the outside shoulder, play outside technique. The corners jump to the inside. This time, Odessa Turner was able to work himself to the inside of the corner and make that reception.
For Alexander, he's got it on the sidelines, and he's out of bounds at the Winnipeg 18-yard line.
The ball hangs up in the air, and Shannon Garrett is the guy that's back there, number 23, just cannot locate the football. He looks around like he's looking up into the crowd, into the stands. The one guy that picks up the ball is Ray Alexander. He goes up like a jump ball, catches it at the highest point, makes the big reception.
Well, at 6'4", Alexander also has an edge over the 5'11" Garrett. The pass over the middle intended for Alexander, but this time Garrett is able to knock it down.
And I think that's a good call by Sammy Garza. Anytime that you get a defensive back, a linebacker, you're able to beat them on a play, you get them thinking about that play a bit, come back again and see if you can take advantage of them while they're still worrying about the play that was previous. Shannon Garrett, to his credit, rose to the challenge and came up with a big defensive play, make it 2nd and 10.
Alexander left. Odessa Turner splits to the right. 1:02 remaining in the half. Garza rolling right, being pursued, now decides to run it, and is going to be close to a first down, knocked out of bounds by Corus Irvin.
That's what's going to pump your team up right there. Your quarterback, an ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber, comes on and takes it on his shoulders to get the job done. Katie Williams gets inside. Sammy Garza's not known for his blinding speed, but he is known for his heart and getting the job done when he has to. He takes on Corus Irvin, drops Corus to the turf, keeps his balance, and picks up the first down. Or it's going to be very close, I'm sorry.
Regardless of how this measurement turns out, I think Ottawa will go for it, and they are going to have a first down.
Well, there's no tomorrow here. I mean, you don't have to worry about playoffs. You don't have to worry about your home crowd booing you. If you're down there that close, you're exactly right. You roll the dice, take a chance. Even at that, you back them up. You've got Winnipeg starting 1st and 10 on about the 12-yard line, or I should say the 8-yard line.
Well, Sammy Garza heard a lot of boos during his playing time in Winnipeg this year as a starter. His play in this second quarter in particular has silenced this Winnipeg crowd. Into the end zone, touchdown to Odessa Turner. And the Ottawa Rough Riders are taking control of this final regular season game at Winnipeg Stadium. And Sammy Garza, the hero of the moment for the Ottawa Rough Riders, as he accepts congratulations on his touchdown throw to Odessa Turner.
Take a look, just a quick post. David Poole again is on outside technique of the shoulder. That gives the inside away. The quick post inside. Garza has time to throw the ball, and Turner comes up with a big catch.
Wayne Lamley adds the point after.
That's what started the drive. He's trying to play you outside to stop the fade. That's what he's killing himself.
It cuts. See, you could just hear that as he's talking to one of the guys on the sideline. If he's going to play you to the outside, trying to take the fade away, then you go to the quick post. Turner did, and he came up with the major.
Danny Barrett was the player on the sidelines explaining to Odessa Turner what he had to do. And in Vancouver, the Saskatchewan Roughriders who are watching are undoubtedly pleased that this play worked as well as it did.
Take a look at Garza's reaction after the touchdown catch. Yes, it's trouble. He says, you know, I was booed here when I wore the blue and white. He said, I'm going to get booed here when I wear red and white. But I think the boos today will be something that he can justify and he can accept.
Well, you know, he came off the bench in the 1993 season, replacing Matt Dunnigan after he went down in a game against Sacramento with an Achilles tendon and was lost for the last 2 games of the regular season. He managed to take Winnipeg to the Grey Cup game. On the kickoff, the ball seemed to roll on the tee just as it was kicked, and now Stiegel brings it back to the 49-yard line, and that's where Winnipeg will scrimmage 1st and 10 with 44 seconds remaining.
Come on, baby.
I think the ball tumbled off the kicking tee just as Lamley moved up to kick it, and that's the reason it's squibbed along the ground.
But let's go back to the touchdown. Now, this is David Poole right here on the outside shoulder. It's going to allow Odessa Turner to come to the middle. The big key to this, look back here. Where's the safety? The pass is thrown, the catch is made, the safety comes into the position. Jason Mallett about 3 steps after that.
And again, Slack is flushed out of the pocket and will get about 6 yards as he carries to the midfield stripe. The Rough Riders are getting a pretty good push from their front 4 this afternoon.
Well, again, we allude to what James Curry had mentioned at the onset of this game, how well these guys played last week, and they have certainly risen to the challenge.
There appeared to be a mix-up in the read with either Wilcox or Daniel as Slack was throwing the hot pattern.
And he looks like he's trying to throw the hot pattern to the quick out. to Gerald Wilcox. The ball's thrown behind him. The guy with the best shot at it is Emmanuel Martin, the corner.
Slack is having some problems this afternoon as the Ottawa Rough Riders are playing a sound game defensively. And now Bob Cameron, with 30 seconds remaining in the half, stands at his own 40-yard line for this third down punt. Alexander has it bounced past him. And it is going to roll through the end zone for a single point. Alexander was rather casual in going back after the ball. I'm not so sure it didn't touch him as it bounced past him.
We'll try to get a replay of this as it goes through it. It's an error if he's a shortstop. It went right between his legs. But let's take a look. A little lackadaisical. It goes through. It doesn't look like it touched him much. It made a high bounce, came through. It may have just skimmed the inside of his thigh. You would think if it touched him, the ball would have changed course a little bit. It looked like it kept going, and it did right through the end zone for the single.
A 75-yard single by Bob Cameron with 19 seconds remaining in the half. 20-10, Ottawa leads. And I think the Rough Riders are going to be quite content to take the final seconds off the clock and go to the dressing room with a 10-point first-half lead.
Good decision. I think if it was the other way around and they were going possibly with the win and they had 15 or 20 seconds to do something with, throw it up, a Hail Mary, try to make something big happen. But right now you're leading the game 20-10 against a tough win. Take a knee and let's go see if we can keep this going for another 30 minutes, says the Ottawa Rough Riders.
And time has expired here at Winnipeg Stadium with the Rough Riders under the direction of Sammy Garza heading to the dressing room with a 10-point lead. A game the Bombers must win if they hope to advance to the postseason.
Welcome to the BF Goodrich TA halftime. Now, here's your host, Scott Hoke.
We're at the half at Winnipeg Stadium where the Bombers trail by 10 as they try to nail down the last of 5 playoff spots available in the CFL's North Division. This game will finalize the standings in the North, where the first 4 postseason berths have long since been claimed. Calgary finished 15-3, albeit with 2 losses in their last 3. Edmonton might be the hottest team in the league. BC snapped its 5-game losing streak last night, and Hamilton's facing Baltimore today, but the Cats can finish no better than 4th. Winnipeg must win today to take 5th. So it's Hamilton at Calgary in one North semifinal next Saturday, BC at Edmonton in the other a week today. The last playoff berth in the North is up for grabs because of BC's win over Saskatchewan last night. Lions assembled all the offense they required in the first half. Corey Philpott's 64-yard touchdown run was the second major of the game, 22nd of the year, a CFL record, and the Lions led 14-3. BC defense took over in the fourth quarter with 3 interceptions of Tom Burgess. Lions were down by 1 when James Jefferson's pick set up Lou Pasaglia's winning field goal. This with about 7.5 to go. Saskatchewan offense could not answer, and BC stopped a 5-game losing streak on a 30-25 victory. So the Riders failed for the second straight week to confirm a playoff spot. Mind you, they can still get there if Ottawa hangs on and beats Winnipeg today. Bobby Jurison's one of 37 Riders who just wishes it was otherwise, and perhaps that the Green Riders had their fate in their own hands. He joins us now from the Riders Hotel in Vancouver. Bobby, how tough is it to watch today with all that's at stake?
Well, I'll tell you what, I hope the Riders out there can finish the job that we couldn't do last night. We had an opportunity to get ourselves into the playoffs, but things didn't work out for us.
And Bobby, what happened last night in a game that obviously meant the world to the Riders?
Well, the games have been meaning the world for us since Labor Day weekend, and I think our defense has come a long way, and I can't talk about our offense because I don't really know what's going on that side of the ball, but defensively I think we've been playing some good ball. We gave up a few big plays, and that's why I think we lost the game last night.
Guys have been so close late in this season. You've played the best teams in the league really tough. Lost 5 games by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 points. But I know I'm not making you feel any better. None of this will be of any consolation if you don't get to the postseason.
Well, one of the radio talk shows back in Regina said in the last 7 games, I think we lost in a total of 33 points, and that's pretty good. And we just haven't been getting the breaks coming our way, and I just hope Ottawa can help us out here a little bit and get us in the door, get our foot in the door, because I think we can give Baltimore a heck of a game.
Bobby, I know you're watching this with your teammates. Dave Van Bellingham behind you. I think he might be trying to distract you. Do you and your teammates have any motivational messages for Ottawa in the second half of this game?
All I could talk about is the ex-riders there, Burns and Bernard and Ellingson. Come on, boys, we need you.
All right, Bobby, thanks for your time, and thanks to your teammates as well. Enjoy the second half of this game as best you can. So, Bobby Jurison speaking to us live from the Green Riders Hotel in Vancouver the day after Saskatchewan lost to BC. Here, Ottawa is trying to help Saskatchewan into the playoffs, and we'll return in a moment. There's Government House with the legislature behind it in downtown Winnipeg. Don Whitman's house is twice as big. Back with you in Winnipeg now as we continue with the BF Goodrich TA halftime report, Bombers Trail 2010. Will it be Winnipeg or Saskatchewan finishing 5th in the north and crossing over to the south to meet Baltimore? Stallions finished first and claimed home field in the playoffs. San Antonio and Birmingham will play tonight and sort out second place. Memphis just missed the postseason, so it's Saskatchewan or Winnipeg at Baltimore next Saturday in the semifinal. And on Sunday, it's Birmingham without Matt Dunnigan at San Antonio, or vice versa, as I say, home field, and that matchup to be determined tonight. James Curry with me now. Don and Dan upstairs. These are men who like to gamble, so let's gamble on the playoffs. James, should we concede Baltimore a berth in the Grey Cup again this year?
Well, I don't know. Baltimore's going to have some stiff competition in the South this year. San Antonio is a much improved team, and you really have to contend with them. David Archer has really become more a complete team player this season.
Yeah, San Antonio with David Archer and Mike Saunders. Birmingham without Matt Dunnigan. You got to like San Antonio's odds.
Well, you like San Antonio's odds, and Mike Saunders, a great acquisition from Saskatchewan, who went down there as a free agent this season, really improved and rounded out their offense.
Don, next Saturday, Hamilton and Calgary in a North semifinal. A lot of coaches complained this year that Hamilton didn't have to play the Stampeders in the regular season.
Well, it was a strange schedule this year in the CFL in a number of ways, and one of the strangest, the fact that Hamilton, going up against Calgary in the postseason, did not play the Stampeders during the regular season. The big question in Calgary, who will be the starting quarterback? Will it be Doug Flutie? Will it be Jeff Garcia? I think it's safe to assume it will not be Sean Moore.
I think as long as Doug Flutie, if he is healthy, he's going to start for the Calgary Stampeders with.
Yeah, I think he probably will, I think this is going to be an interesting game because of some of the unknown quantities and that these two teams haven't played.
Well, they really haven't. They don't know a lot about each other, and it'll be an interesting game, and that's the kind of matchup that you want to see, winner take all in the playoff scenario.
The Calgary finished 15-3 this year, 15-3 in each of the last two seasons, and then lost the division final. Does that tell us you should save your best for the playoffs?
Well, they really would, and I tell you, the last time that these two teams met in Commonwealth Stadium, BC really gave Edmonton all they can handle. BC's going into the playoffs on a roll, 5 wins so far, so it'll be interesting to see what happens again at Commonwealth Stadium, Scott.
All right, that'll do it for the BF Goodrich TA halftime report. Stand by now for the second half from Winnipeg Stadium with the Bombers behind by 10.
The largest crowd of the season, 27,022 watching the action this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium. The Bombers behind 20-10. The result of this big play.
Big turning point on the block punt, just right here, a little bit of a move, comes up field, gets his hands out in front, and that's Brent Young, who's had an excellent first half, touches the ball ever so slightly. Number 7, Emmanuel Martin comes up, heads up play, finds the ball in the air, catches it in the air, and more importantly, gets it in the end zone for 6.
There are some scary creatures in attendance this afternoon, and that goes for the people in costume as well as those.
I was going to say, there's a couple of you guys in this booth up here that are pretty frightening.
Bonner on the kickoff return. Boy, the Rough Riders have done an excellent job, and the ball came loose. Winnipeg claims they have recovered. But I was going to say, and the officials agreed, that the Rough Riders have done a good job on kickoff returns today.
They really have, and I think coming back to a comment that James Curry made on the sideline, one of his observations, that the Winnipeg team is not playing with a lot of emotion. They're letting a lot of big things happen, particularly on special teams that have to deal with pure emotion and desire. The ball gets stripped, and I think that looks like number 44, K.D. Williams, at the bottom of it. Bonner's working extremely hard to make an effort to pick up a few extra yards. Number 23 is Shannon Garrett, who's the man that makes the tackle, strips the ball loose. Now, this is the big kind of motivation and momentum kind of swing that you need for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at the beginning of a half when you're 10 points down. Come back out. Now it's up to Reggie Slack and this offense to capitalize on that.
Winnipeg 1st and 10 from the Ottawa 52. The hitch screen to Siegel. And Stiegel is trapped right at the line of scrimmage. He may have even been dropped for a loss. K.D. Williams has played well again this afternoon, as he did earlier this season in an outstanding effort against the Toronto Argonauts, where he had 13 tackles. 214 net yards for the Rough Riders this afternoon to 149 for Winnipeg. And Mike Richardson, as we said at the start of our telecast, has been a key in compiling much of that yardage. Slack dumps it off to Blaze Bryant. The ball comes loose. Emmanuel Martin has got it. Emmanuel Martin put the hit on Blaze Bryant. He knocked the ball loose. Bryant is still down, and Martin comes up with the football.
Big-time defensive play by Emmanuel Martin. Reggie Slack's just going to float the ball out here. Martin's playing the zone. He's curled up on it. It's a cut call. Now he comes up and he makes the tackle. Up in the chest of Blaze Bryant. Strips the ball completely loose, jars it loose, then comes up with the recovery. It's a big-time hit, and you can see Blaze Bryant is still down on the turf, feeling the effects of it.
Martin is still down. Martin wasn't sure where the football was when it came loose.
Well, he's like one of those bats. He was just dealing with sonar right then. He found it, could sense it, made the tackle, made the strip, and also made the recovery. Then now you come down to the reality of, hey, I think I may have hurt something here. And then he takes a knee and he's being attended to. Both of them are being attended to by their medical staff.
So it will be Ottawa ball when we return. The Rough Riders in possession. The handoff straight ahead to Strother, and he'll pick up about 3, maybe even 4 yards. The two players involved in that huge collision, Emmanuel Martin being treated over on the Ottawa bench, Blaze Bryant at the Winnipeg bench.
Speaking of Blaze Bryant, he's right here. Now he's just going to come out into the flat. Out here is Emmanuel Martin. It's a wide side cut call, meaning the corner's going to be up. Now they're just going to dump it out there. He reacts to the ball, makes a solid play.
Back to the live action. It's dumped off to Strother, and Strother, looking for a first down, should have it. Taking the ball to the Winnipeg 47, tackled there by John Moten. Strother is the fullback the Rough Riders were looking for throughout the season. They got him late in the year, and they feel he has been a big addition to their offensive scheme.
94, he was on the practice rosters of the Denver Broncos. Feel he's got great potential and just coming into the CFL for the first year.
1st and 10 Ottawa. The ball is at the Winnipeg 47. Strother the ball carrier, and he took a couple of solid hits as he got to the Winnipeg 45. And on the bottom of that tackling contingent, number 44, K.D. Williams. He's been everywhere.
He gets everywhere. He likes to get involved with the play, makes a lot of things happen, comes off the corner hard. Kelly Rush does a good job. It's a slow developing, delayed draw play. And there's K.D. Williams along with Dale Lowes, who's back in the lineup this game.
13 tackles he had against Toronto in the history of the CFL. Only Bruce Holmes and Jeff Braswell have had more in one game.
He's wide open.
Alexander down the sidelines, an easy touchdown for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Well, the Bombers had an extra defensive back on the field for the play, but obviously there was a miscue because, as a friend of mine would say, there was nobody within a bull's roar of Ray Alexander.
I'm a little worried about the picture hanging around. Ray Alexander composing himself, having a few thoughts. Sammy Garza's having some great thoughts. Sprint out row. He's going to see Ray Alexander wide open, blown coverage in the secondary. Ray running down. Obviously, there's some kind of a zone coverage where the corner is rolled up, thinking he has the halfback deep over top. No halfback there. The only guy there, Ray Alexander.
And Alexander adds the Lamley adds the convert to the 45-yard touchdown by Ray Alexander. And it's Ottawa 27, Winnipeg 10. Well, you know, some of Cal Murphy's worst fears may be realized today. He was concerned about son-in-law Sammy Garza coming back and playing well against his former teammates today.
Well, you talked about Sammy Garza knowing a lot about the Winnipeg organization, particularly the defense and how they run it. Take a look at this. All right. That's why it was so much fun to be a wide receiver. You know, you never got to do that kind of stuff as a linebacker. Sammy Garza, amongst all the boos in the crowd, he doesn't hear anything. That's some jubilation amongst his new friends.
The Rough Riders marched 60 yards in just 4 plays. The 45-yard pass to Alexander, making it a 27-10 Ottawa Rough Rider lead.
But just to finish the thought, he said he was worried about Sammy Garza coming back because he did know a lot about this organization and defenses. But he said he may not be able to get it done if we can get him on the ground. They just haven't had a chance to get him on the ground today.
Ricks, the return man for Winnipeg. He gets to the outside. And it is Lamley who forces him out of bounds up at the 53-yard line. Well, Mark Ricks had no opportunity for a playoff check in Ottawa, but with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he has a chance to pick up the $1,900 paycheck that will go to the Blue Bombers if they can make the postseason.
Good job this time. He gets the Ottawa coverage team going all to one side. Then he shows the great speed that he has to get to the outside. The only guy that has a decent angle is Lamley, and he's the guy that pushes him out of bounds.
Winnipeg 1st and 10. The Bombers at their own 53-yard line. Gerald Wilcox caught immediately by Young. He will have a pickup of about 5 yards.
Okay, the last series of plays, Winnipeg comes up with a big turnover, gets the ball back. The first play from scrimmage, Ottawa comes up with a big turnover. It's imperative right now for Reggie Slack and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to be able to sustain some drives, make a few things happen. But they're going to have to keep going to Wilcox every time right now. Start giving the ball to somebody else and try to spread the defense attention.
Slack fakes, now throws deep for Daniel. Incomplete. Penalty flag, a late call against Emmanuel Martin. I think this is going to be face guarding.
Well, I think they're going to call pass interference against Emmanuel Martin. And the only reason I think it was delayed, I think the official had a hard time getting the flag out of his pocket to actually call the play. Ball's hung up. He's got him beaten by a few steps. The left hand comes up and hits.
Forward pass interference. Ottawa, number 7, delivered. First down at point of foul, Winnipeg.
Hits Tim Daniels right in the chest. Had Martin possibly looked and thrown his head back around, tried to locate the ball, he may have been able to get away with the contact.
1st and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the Ottawa 15.
Keep running it.
Slack is going to have a clear path to the end zone. The quarterback has been the leading rusher for the Blue Bombers this afternoon, and he takes it 15 yards for the major score. That's something that Coach Cal Murphy liked about Reggie Slack, was his running ability, and he has been the best runner for Cal Murphy's team today.
Reggie Slack is going to fake that shovel pass inside to Blaze Bryant. There goes the pass. The defenders start to chase it down the field. Ricardo Washington loses containment on that side, and Reggie Slack makes no mistake of getting the ball in the end zone.
Point after by Troy Westwood, and again, it's a 10-point game with 9:55 remaining in the 3rd quarter. And we'll be back with the Winnipeg kickoff after this.
I can run out and go right around him.
Slack and Wilcox discussing strategy. It was Slack's 15-yard run into the end zone that has narrowed the gap again to 10 points, Ottawa leading.
Short kick.
Along the sidelines, it's taken by Dave Donnell. He got away from the first tackler, now gets to the outside. Ryan Carey finally forces him out of bounds at the 49-yard line.
Well, let's go back and take a look at this. Here's the wide receivers. Their job is to run down. Reggie Slackey's going to come back. Blaze Bryant is going to fake the shuttle pass inside. But what I want you to watch, this is the defender that has responsibility for containment. He goes back inside. Now take a look at this. As he comes in, he loses containment inside. Reggie Slack gets outside and scores the touchdown.
1st and 10 for Ottawa. Knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Del Lyles. They were trying to set up the screen, and Del Lyles knocked it down. We haven't called Del Lyles' name much today, but in a loss here at Winnipeg Stadium to the Calgary Stampeders, what a football game he played, particularly in the second half when he was dragging his arm around. He was basically playing 30 minutes of football with one arm.
Incredible athlete. He started off the season unbelievably hot. He had 4 sacks in the first 2 games. 3 in 1 game against Saskatchewan on September the 9th.
Christensen makes the catch and then is taken out of bounds with an Ottawa first down by Jason Mallett. 9:08 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Ottawa leading 27-17, a game Winnipeg must win, or the Saskatchewan Roughriders will advance to semifinal action in the Southern Division against the Baltimore Stallions.
Lots of time left. It's time for this Winnipeg defense to come up big again. They can't allow the ball to stay in Sammy Garza's hands.
Over the middle, intended for Odessa Turner. And at the tail end of the play, there was a collision involving Cora Servan and Jay Christensen, but nothing more serious develops. They both leave with a smile on their face.
Ball thrown right over the middle. Outstretched hands of Odessa Turner. That's the kind of balls that make and break big ball games. The time that when you have an opportunity to make the play, you need to come up with it.
2nd and 10 Ottawa. Since 1979, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have only had 2 losing seasons. Kenneth Rare has the catch for a first down to the 35-yard line. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have made 8 straight division finals. But they are now just worried about qualifying for the postseason.
Kenneth Rare does a good job of reading the zone coverage, sits down in the hole. Sammy Garza having enough time to set in the pocket, wait for his receiver to find the open spot, then he delivers the ball on the money.
Colin Scrivener is the injured Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Talking about this game against Ottawa, he said, "I sure hope brother Glenn over in BC helps knock off the Saskatchewan Roughriders and we can win this one because I owe him some money and I need that playoff check to pay him."
And I know because I'm a big brother. We don't like our younger brothers owing us any money. They do believe that little term out of the Bible that says that you are your brother's keeper. They think we should be all the time.
Let's go to the sidelines, and here's James.
This is a great situation for Sammy Garza to be in, back in Winnipeg with his team up by 10 points here in the 3rd quarter and driving for another opportunity to put points on the scoreboard, to have a chance to atone for being back here in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is playing on their heels here in the second half, and they haven't been able to figure out this Ottawa offense, guys.
Well, they've had some problems. They've thrown in that extra defensive back, but every time they do it, there seems to be some miscommunication because they had the extra DB on the touchdown pass to Alexander.
Well, when they had that out there, and it is pure just communication. Somebody is not getting the calls properly in that secondary. But more importantly, I think it still goes back to something that James had brought notice to earlier. That team's not playing with a lot of emotion. They're not playing with a lot of fire and a lot of spunk out there like I have seen Winnipeg teams play, particularly when you have this much on the line.
Stan Mikowicz now comes into the ball game, taking over from Scrivener. 1st and 10 Ottawa. Hot pattern. And you talk about communication, there may have been a miscue there on the part of the Ottawa Roughriders. Somebody didn't read it quite right.
Well, I think they got exactly the kind of pattern that they wanted. Hot read. They have Richardson coming out of the backfield. Sammy Garza wanted to throw the ball to him. The mismatch with John Moulton, the linebacker. Sammy just overthrew Michael Richardson. But he gets a chance to come back. 2nd and 10.
7:45 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Here comes the heat.
Alexander could not hang on. And that's something that plagued Sammy Garza when he was a member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He had a lot of passes dropped on him early in the year.
Here's the blitz. The safety's out of the middle. Go to the post. It's wide open. The ball hits him right in the chest. Again, when you're a professional athlete and you have the opportunity to make big plays, you need to make them. That one slipped right through the hands of Ray Alexander.
Wayne Lamley will attempt a 42-yard field goal with 7:28 remaining in the third quarter. It's good, and the Rough Riders now enjoy a 13-point lead. These teams, Dan, have given up more points than any other teams this year in the Canadian Football League. And there's something that I found quite interesting in taking a look at their record. Winnipeg lost 65-17, 64-10 to Shreveport and Edmonton. Ottawa lost to those same two teams 61-11 to Shreveport, 63-3 to Edmonton. So they were both beaten by teams that ran up 60 or more points, the same two teams. The South Division semifinal. Will it be Saskatchewan at Baltimore next Saturday afternoon? Or will it be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Blaze Bryant, who took that punishing hit from Emmanuel Martin, carries up to the 42. Saskatchewan will go against Baltimore if Ottawa knocks off Winnipeg this afternoon.
From outside linebacker still can't stop. That's Paul Randolph, the linebacker that is hurt with a torn bicep, talking to K.D. Williams. You can't get better coaching than from the player.
All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage as Blaze Bryant gets the ball. Now, players who are injured and not in action this afternoon, doing some coaching on both sides of the field. We've seen Danny Barrett passing along instruction at the Ottawa bench. Paul Randolph helping the linebackers at the Winnipeg bench.
Offside, Ottawa number 6-yard penalty, first down Winnipeg.
Greg Clark has also been over at the Winnipeg bench, talking to the linebacking contingent. There's Danny Barrett.
We'll come back to you now.
Danny Barrett, very instrumental in the offensive game plans of the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Fake inside by Slack, and he was looking for Wilcox, and Brett Young was all over him.
Reggie Slack trying to mix it up ever so slightly. A little fake inside, counter bootleg out around. But this Ottawa defense really doing a good job of reacting. That's Dickie Adams, the defensive coordinator. Ex-player in this league, ex-coach, knows this game extremely well. Ricardo Washington, number 35 on the side, trying to make sure he stays in touch with all the calls that are being made by Coach Adams.
Slack was back in the shotgun, now steps up underneath center Dave Van Conant. He was looking for Blaze Bryant, and Slack is now 10 for 19 in the passing department for only 111 yards.
Well, I really got to question the call when Reggie Slack, I know that he got pressured a bit by the time count. He only had about 2 seconds to go before the ball was snapped, but it's 2nd and 10. Ottawa's playing a zone defense. He can read that, but his read right then was to dump it to Blaze Bryant in the flat for about a 2-yard gain. This Ottawa team has been reacting to that play all game long very well. You're going to have to do something a little different. Show some imagination out there.
Pressure coming again. Cameron. A short kick fielded by Martin. That may have been partially blocked again. Martin took the ball at the 50-yard line. There was a penalty marker as well. We'll sort it out when we come back.
There's a good look at Brett Young on the sideline, and this is the 2nd time that he's got his hands on the football, coming right from the top of your screen. Watch how he sails out. The right hand just gets ever so slightly a tip on the ball. You can see how it changes his motion. Winnipeg called for no yards, an additional 15 yards for the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Richardson, the ball carrier, tackled by Del Lyles. Same situation as the previous block punt. Emmanuel Martin made the catch only the last time in the first half. He took it 28 yards for the major score. Baltimore with a 24-17 win over Hamilton. So the Stallions have geared up for their postseason battle against either Winnipeg or Saskatchewan with the win over Hamilton. Richardson again. This time he is tackled short of the first down by Calvin Smith.
Calvin Smith gets in a foot race, one-on-one linebacker with Michael Richardson. The ball stumped off. You think you got a little bit of a mismatch. Michael's just kind of tiptoeing out there. I don't think he really thought that he was going to get the football. But when he did, Calvin Smith closed on it and made the tackle short of the first down.
Ottawa leading by 13, and Lamley will attempt to make it a 16-point edge. He's been good from 21, 35, and 42 yards. This will be a 47-yard field goal attempt. And bounces off the crossbar and into the end zone. So it is now 33-17, Ottawa leading.
When things like that start to happen against your ball club, if you're the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, you're starting to think, if it wasn't for bad luck, we're not having any kind of luck at all today. Take a look at this as it hits right on the backside of the crossbar and goes through. If it hits on the front side down low, it's coming back out on the playing field.
Well, the old adage applies. You have to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good.
That's exactly what it has to do.
So now the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are really up against it, trailing by 16 with 3:52 remaining in the third quarter. Inside shovel pass to Blaze Bryant. There's a penalty flag in the play as Bryant carries up to the 50-yard line.
Bring it back. It's going to be holding against Winnipeg. It just seems like every time they make a big play, something happens. They shoot themselves right in the foot.
Holding, Winnipeg number 63, 10-yard penalty, first down repeated.
Mike Kelly, the offensive coordinator, ever since the Labor Day 56-4 loss to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, has been calling all the plays for his quarterbacks. Today he's signaling them in via Kevin McDougall, the backup quarterback.
Chris Walby right in the middle of your screen, number 63, call for the holding against Lloyd Lewis. That's the thing that is so inspiring of Lloyd Lewis and his play, is the effort that he gives you. He makes everybody work hard when you're blocking him.
Johnstone takes it out of bounds in the grasp of Brett Young, and he is short of the first down by about 5 yards. There's McDougall signaling to quarterback Reggie Slack the play call from upstairs. They have a number system, and McDougall has the numbers on a chart. Slack has them on a wristband, and Kelly tells McDougall what play he wants called.
He makes all those calls. On the other side of the ball, what I understand, Sammy Garza is calling the majority of his own plays today.
Slack steps up and throws, and
complete.
Gerald Wilcox has he got the catch? The officials looking for a little help. They say he has. Ottawa players were volunteering their assistance, but the officials didn't want it.
Look at Gerald Wilcox making the curl route. Now he's going to come back, try to find the ball. You got to come back to it. Makes the catch. You can't see from that angle. Here's a big call. It's about 3rd and 3. 2:41 to go in the third quarter, and Cal decides we're going to punt this one away. Reggie Slack slipped ever so slightly as he was trying to throw that ball. Talking to James Curry on the sideline, he says the temperature's dropped considerably down there. The ball has gotten very slick. The field seems to be a little slick. Maybe that's the cause of some of those balls sliding through the hands of the receivers.
Cameron called for the ball, but the whistle apparently had gone previous. The timeout was called by Ottawa, and it could be that the Rough Riders didn't have enough players on the field.
Well, it looked like they had 11. Now it seems like they're changing the return guys. You know why they wanted to call timeout? Heads up play. Jay Christensen found out they didn't have enough players back there. They didn't have a return guy. He ran back to be the punt returner. And the coach looks over there and said, wait a minute, Jay. I know you're pretty fast, but you're just not my return guy today. So they made the switch with the return guys, and they get Ray Alexander back there now.
Now there seems to be some confusion with Winnipeg, and they are gambling on third down. Not any confusion, a bit of deception on the part of Bob Cameron. And it looks as though Winnipeg has got the first down.
Take a look. The timeout could not have come at a better time for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to be able to set this fake up.
Matt Pierce was the ball carrier.
All it was is Matt Pierce is normally one of the up backs. As the Ottawa Rough Riders are standing around, Matt goes in, lines up, takes the direct snap, follows Dave Van Conant, the center, and picks up the 3 yards for the first down.
A gamble Winnipeg has taken late in this third quarter. Will it pay off? Over the middle for Wilcox. And for Gerald Wilcox, that puts him over 1,000 yards for a third consecutive season.
Great catch by Wilcox, because here's where I think, Whit, as I've been saying, they're much more effective. Get this guy some room to move on the inside of the playing field rather than running him to the outs all the time. Miles Correll, Brent McNeil do a good job on Lloyd Lewis this time, buying some time for Reggie Slack, and the completion was there.
Slack throwing deep for Stiegel, incomplete. Jeter was defending against him, and Slack races all the way downfield, thinking there should have been a flag.
Well, Slack's just got to be very careful right now. He's got some positive things going. Don't get an unsportsmanlike contact penalty against you. Set it up, come back again. It's 2nd and 10.
Well, there have been flags in the field, flags being waved in the stands this afternoon at Winnipeg Stadium.
Seam route, safety out of the middle. I think had the ball been thrown, it may have been a catchable ball. There could have been a call on that. The ball was uncatchable, so therefore no call was made.
2nd and 10 Winnipeg. They are at the Ottawa 47. 50 seconds remaining in the third quarter. There appeared to be movement at the line of scrimmage. And Slack goes down, and Clemens makes sure he stays down.
It's all right. It's going to come back. They'll get 2nd and 5, offsides against Ottawa.
Offside, Ottawa, number 95, 5-yard penalty. 2nd down, repeat it.
Just right in the middle of your screen, Ray Bernard trying to anticipate the snap count. Gets caught in that neutral zone. Reggie Slack had a free one, just couldn't make anything happen with it. But he still gets the ball, maintains possession. 2nd and 5. Crucial situation for Winnipeg.
Ray Bernard is one of those guys his former teammates are hoping can do something this afternoon. To Chris Johnstone for a Winnipeg first down inside the 30-yard line.
Reggie Slack is down. He took a shot from John Kropke. But to his credit, he bounced up quickly. Now, I mentioned about Chris Johnstone earlier in the game. I said he's the kind of guy he's forgotten about. You don't think about him. He blocks, he gets lost in the crowd. All of a sudden, he comes up, makes a big play, comes out of nowhere. John Kropke takes a shot at Reggie Slack after the fact. Big first down. Reggie Slack's going to get up and run it 1st and 10.
This should be the final play of the third quarter. The fake inside. Slack along the sidelines for Wilcox. Wilcox got a hand on it, but couldn't pull it in. And that is the final play of the third quarter, with the Ottawa Rough Riders leading Winnipeg by 16 points. Well, if the Ottawa Rough Riders continue as they are this afternoon, leading 33-17, next Saturday on CBC television, it will be the Saskatchewan Rough Riders in Baltimore. If Winnipeg comes back in the fourth quarter, they, of course, will go to Baltimore in semifinal action in the Southern Division. The second half of our Saturday doubleheader in playoff action in the CFL features Hamilton and Calgary from McMahon Stadium. And these two teams, as we mentioned at the half, are meeting in the postseason, the first time they have played each other this year. Slack on the draw play. This has been an effective play for the Bombers today, and it is going to be close to a first down.
But I don't think it really matters how close it is. Even if it's short, they're going to need to go for it.
Statistically, the Ottawa Rough Riders have a big edge, 307 yards to 153 for Winnipeg. The Bombers have been guilty of 3 turnovers this afternoon, and they have taken some costly penalties as well.
I think that has been the big key. The penalty situation for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has really hurt them on big plays, big returns, and nullified a lot of positive things that this ball club had going for it quite early in the ball game.
Slack has carried for 67 yards and has also scored a touchdown, a third down gamble, and one would have to assume that it will probably be Slack. No, he's going to hand off to Blaze Bryant, and Bryant hurdles into the 13-yard line for a Winnipeg first down.
I got to tell you, Whit, I think that's a gutsy call to hand the ball 4 yards deep in the end and in the backfield to Blaze Bryant with a tough Ottawa defense, as opposed to taking Reggie Slack at about 220 pounds and just taking the quarterback sneak, letting him go right behind the most valuable offensive lineman on this club, Dave Van Conant, pick up the first down. This is a dramatic ball club today.
First and 10 Winnipeg from the 15. Fake to Blaze Bryant. Slack looks into the corner to Daniel, incomplete. Emmanuel Martin, the cornerback on the side, had pretty good position on Tim Daniel.
Coming right at you, Reggie Slack getting some heat by Charlie Clements, forced him to throw that ball just a little bit before he was prepared and settled in. Throws it way past the outstretched hands of Tim Daniels.
Daniel has only been able to haul in one pass so far this afternoon. And now Slack sets up in the shotgun. Slack looks over the middle. He's got Stiegel. There's a penalty on the play as Stiegel is taken down at the 1. This is going to be a face mask call against Ottawa.
I think they're going to get Antonius Bonner for face masking. Stiegel does a good job of running a crossing route. And as you run across the formation, you're able to create some cushion and separation from the defensive back.
Face mask, Ottawa, number 22. There is no yardage penalty. First down, Winnipeg.
Reggie Slack sprints ever so slightly, sets behind the tackle. Now he's just going to telegraph it. Stiegel with some good speed gets the inside position on Bonner and is able to beat him for that major reception.
The infraction took place at the 1. That's where Winnipeg scrimmages first and goal, and Slack has his second touchdown of the game. That's the play I thought they were going to call in the third down gamble.
It's a good play. Now, Whit, here's the call. Do you go for 2 points now, or do you go for the kick the convert? They need, if they score, if they make 2 touchdowns major and 2 two-point conversions, that is 16 points. Makes it a pretty interesting ball game at that point.
Well, I think there's a formula that most coaches operate under as to when they go for the 2-point conversion.
Reggie Slack just jumps behind, as I mentioned earlier, Dave Van Conant, Kevin Robson off the right side, Chris Walby. That big offensive line. They've done a lot of great things over the years that they've played here. This has not been a stellar year for them, particularly in the sack category, where this year the Winnipeg team had given up 61 sacks coming into this ball game, last in the CFL, as opposed to 20 sacks they had in '93. Big play now.
The Bombers are going for the 2-point convert try, intended for Gerald Wilcox. And you know what? If Brett Young had grabbed that one, he could have gone the other way, all the way for Ottawa. Well, Kep, you're absolutely right. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers tried for the 2 points, but they still trail by 10, 33-23. You know, there are some up-and-coming young football players in the CFL. Do you recognize this young man?
Yes, that's my son, Michael. This is something he was playing in a semifinal game yesterday. They actually won the ball game. Oh, guys. He looked at me, he says, Dad, I got really good news and bad news. I said, what's the good news? He says, I'm a linebacker and I'm number 42. I said, well, what's the bad news? He said, Dad, I'm really light in the butt. I said, I can help you with that a little bit.
When he talks about playing linebacker, has Michael ever seen your fingers and talked to you about those fingers of yours?
It was the greatest pleasure for me this year to take him to Commonwealth Stadium at an age where he understands a little bit of now what Dad did for all those years. And it was something because he called me and left a message and said he happened to be voted the most improved football player on his team. So, Michael, on national television, I love you and congratulations. But I got to work on your stance a little bit. I'll get that when I get home.
Michael, you'll get some good coaching. Listen to what Dad has to say. 12-17 remaining. Good fake inside, down the sidelines for Alexander. And he was overthrown.
Alexander did a good job that time of baiting Shannon Garrett into thinking that he's not going to get the ball. He's just a decoy. Now all of a sudden he turns around. The ball's already thrown. Ray Alexander's going to make, just like he did in the earlier part of the game, a good adjustment to the throw. Had that been thrown just a little bit more to the inside of the field, Ray Alexander would have had a reception.
But Garrett didn't totally fall for the fake.
Not completely, but he was beaten by one step. That's all it takes, I guess.
Oh! Jason Mallett, the safety, got his hands on it after it deflected off the fingertips of James Ellingson, but couldn't pull it in. But it's 2 and out for the Ottawa Rough Riders with 11:50 remaining.
As I mentioned to you earlier, James Curry had talked about the temperature on the field, the slippery football, and there James Ellison used those glass cutter gloves. It goes right through his hands, and Mallett has a chance to come up with a major opportunity for a turnover, and it goes right through his hands also. More importantly for Winnipeg, they have Ottawa punting.
And Lamley is flushed out of the pocket. Ryan Carey in pursuit. Lamley does an excellent job of getting the kick away. Taken by Stiegel. This draws a penalty flag. This is probably going to be no yards against Ottawa as Stiegel goes down at the 22-yard line. Give Lamley some credit for on the dead run kicking that ball with Ryan Carey after him. One of the officials got involved in the collision. That's the umpire, Ken Pico.
And he's feeling a little bit of pain also. The medical staff of Winnipeg is out there quickly to take a look at this. But take a look again at the snap. It's high. He comes down. The first thing you see is K.D. Williams coming right at you, so you get that panic. Now you get outside. Number 7 is Ryan Carey. Does a good job of pursuit, trying to get containment. But Lamley does an excellent job of just getting that ball off, and it ends up going about 45 yards.
Only the 3rd punt of the game for Lamley.
Here's where I'd be a little concerned. Look how Stiegel's carrying the football out there. Like he's got that loaf of bread in his hands. And the first thing you want to do when a kicker comes down the field, Carey says, hey, you made me look bad. You got outside on me. You got the punt off. Here's a little bit of payback.
Let's go down to the sidelines now, and here's Scott.
All right, Don, here is Greg Clark, the Bombers' outstanding player nominee. Greg, James and I have observed that you and Paul Randolph are about the 2 most emotional players in the Bomber bench. Problem is, you're not dressed. What are you doing to try and fire the guys up, and what's the problem?
I don't know, we're doing everything possible to, to get the guys into the game. And, we had a couple of bad breaks go against us. And, the guys are young, and they're taking it the wrong way. They need to pick up and get something off of it instead of going down on themselves.
A casual observer would say Winnipeg playoff spot in the line. You got Ottawa in your own ballpark. It shouldn't be close.
It shouldn't. It should not. And we've been here before. We were here in Toronto when we should have locked that away, and we wouldn't be in this situation to start with. And we're here again, and we're trying to step up to the bat, step up to the plate, and we're not doing too hot right now. But I think it'll come together.
Greg, thanks for your time.
All right. Thanks.
Don?
And how much the Bombers miss Greg Clark this afternoon. He has been playing with a broken bone in his wrist, a broken finger, and a knee injury.
And he's scheduled for surgery. I think there was thoughts by Cal Murphy to say, hey, just postpone that a week or two. Let's get these games over with.
Slack is in trouble. Penalty flags in the play. Blaze Bryant on the receiving end of the throw. It's going to go against Winnipeg.
Holding on the inside. Reggie Slack trying to do everything he can to get out of the pocket, get away from the heat, dumps it off to Blaze Bryant.
Now, Cal was saying if Clark has played with those injuries for the past 3 weeks, maybe he could delay surgery for at least one more week.
Well, I think maybe he could. I mean, and that's my personal feelings, and it's not a...
10-yard penalty, first down repeated.
I mean, I'm not questioning Greg Clark at all. I think he's a great linebacker, and he's the inspirational leader on that defense, and that's what they're missing out there. They're missing somebody like him or Greg Battle, who played in Winnipeg, plays in Memphis, to go around and grab a couple of guys and say, hey, kids, we got to get in this ball game. That's what they need.
Well, that's something that some people have suggested has been missing all year from Winnipeg. And there's Lloyd Lewis, and he's been an inspirational leader for the Ottawa Rough Riders this afternoon.
Good look at Dickie Adams again. Calls a good call this time. Now, if you're going to make this three-step drop, you better throw it on time. Get rid of the ball now. But not before. Lloyd Lewis gets in his face and puts him right on his back. It's a timing throw. Receivers have to be open. If they're not open, get rid of the ball somehow and line it up. 2nd and 10 as opposed to 2nd and extra long.
Yeah. Winnipeg 2nd and 19. Handoff to Blaze Bryant. And Bryant runs it out of bounds with 10:02 remaining in the football game, and Winnipeg well short of a first down. And I don't really understand that call either, unless he realized he had nowhere to go, but you'd think he'd lower his shoulder and try and turn it upfield.
Well, I think you need to try to get the ball upfield, not take it to the out-of-bounds marker. 2nd and that long. Ottawa's definitely going to be in the zone defense. Linebackers going to be off the line of scrimmage 6 or 8 yards, then get into their drop and react. If they do run the ball, that's what you want them to do. Now you're just going to use your speed, go up there, make the tackle short of the first down, exactly the way the Ottawa defense did it.
Ray Alexander takes the 3rd down punt, and down he goes with penalty flags flying. 9:37, the time remaining here at Winnipeg Stadium. Well, all fans attending today's football game, all 27,000, were given a flag as they entered the stadium. And waving the flag is something I don't think we do enough of in this country.
They're having a good time doing it today, and they're doing it all sizes, all shapes of people, and lots of different costumes.
Mike Richardson, the ball carrier, continuing to struggle up to the 35-yard line. Calvin Smith is the man who got involved in the tackle, along with Kenny Walker. All those Saskatchewan Rough Rider players are still glued to their television sets out in Vancouver, and in 9 minutes they'll know whether they can continue practicing for playoff action or their season is over.
Come on, Bobby, give me a little smile out there, big guy. You're going to have to go to bed early. You may have to go to work tomorrow.
Oh, the receiver, James Ellingson, slipped, and Corus Irvin overran it as he was going for the interception.
Great play, good anticipation by Corus Irvin, as James Ellingson looks like he falls on the outside. Corus Irvin getting an opportunity to get back on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers staff, and to start today, he was listed as a backup to begin with.
Well, Lamely hopes he doesn't have to run for his life before launching a 3rd down punt. This time, this is only his 4th punt of the ball game. Mark Ricks takes it at the 37. Nowhere to go, and Winnipeg will be scrimmaging from their own 43, 1st and 10.
Canadian Tire has guaranteed low prices every day on MotoMaster batteries, so you can get one whenever you need one, and you won't get left out in the cold.
8:18 is the time remaining for some of the veteran members on this Winnipeg football team. If they don't qualify for the postseason, it will be a new experience. It's like when you played in Edmonton, if you didn't go to the Grey Cup, it was a new experience.
Well, I was very fortunate through the 10 years that we did not miss the playoffs. Reggie Slack, if he throws the ball up the middle, he's going to have some chances to make some things happen.
Bryant will pick up about 6 yards before being stopped at the 50-yard line.
You know, I think maybe Reggie has to go over there and change a bit of his philosophy. Initially, when he came into the ball game, they were going to run what we call a search series, where the back goes into the flat, or the back goes up the seam, and then the quick out by the slot backs. Ottawa's been playing an excellent zone defense and playing that kind of patterns. The middle has been open, and there's where a guy like Wilcox is most useful.
Toss inside to Bryant, and he slipped as he tried to make the cut, stopped about 2 yards short of a first down.
Real lack of imagination, I think, right now offensively. This is not a play that has had any success whatsoever through the course of this game. If you're going to run the ball inside, you've got to pick up 6 yards, and this Ottawa defense has really been reacting to it, and you can see the look on Mike Kelly's face. Kind of tells you some of the concerns that he has. To the point that if he called the play, all they have to do now is execute it. Dick Adams on the other side, calling a good defensive game.
Alexander has to dive to make the catch on Cameron's 3rd down punt. The wind seemed to affect that ball and cause it to dip perhaps a little sooner than Alexander thought. Well, Sammy Garza at the University of Texas in El Paso had an outstanding collegiate career. Came to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, primarily a backup all during his career in Winnipeg. He married the daughter of Coach Cal Murphy, and that, of course, created the Sammy son-in-law stories. And fans can be cruel sometimes. They suggested the only reason he was on the team is because he was the son-in-law. You know what? Some of those same fans right now might be wishing that Sammy was throwing footballs for Winnipeg rather than Ottawa.
I know. Sammy's going to mix it up a bit over on the sideline with Darius Watson. And it is tough. I mean, if fans get very vicious at times at some of the remarks that they say, and I suppose with the price of the ticket, they feel that they have the ability to be able to say those things or do those things. And professional athletes are people, and they're men, and some women also, but not in this football game. But they're guys that's going to react, and they get hurt, sometimes when things like that happen. And I'm sure that Sammy Garza is one of those guys also. Big trade that took place with Sammy coming to Winnipeg, and also Sean Moore, the quarterback, going from Winnipeg now in Calgary. Sean Moore looked like a really super quarterback the other day, so maybe Ottawa lost somebody.
Moulton in pursuit. The pass is picked off, and then it comes loose. Winnipeg has got it. Corus Irvin comes up with the football as Paul Randolph is celebrating at the Winnipeg bench.
Now take a look at the kind of enthusiasm that Randolph had. Now you see how composed a guy like that is. That's what we're talking about.
Bobby Jurison, Dave Van Bellingham hanging tough as the Saskatchewan Roughriders will sweat out the final 6:07 of this football game. A Corus Irvin interception has given Winnipeg the ball, 1st and 10 from the 25. Sammy Garza was shaken up on a hit by John Moulton as he threw the interception. We may now see Andre Ware. Reggie Slack looks over the middle into the back of the end zone, and he could not find Milt Stegall.
A throw that maybe Sammy Garza shouldn't have tried to make. John Moulton right on his back, throws it into a crowd. And here's the hit that John Moulton takes Sammy Garza down on that right shoulder. And maybe that's the effects that he's feeling and the reason that Andre Ware is warming up on the sideline.
Well, a couple of years ago, Sammy Garza had rotator cuff surgery on his right shoulder. Second and 10. Lewis picked up as he was after the quarterback. Wilcox in the end zone. And with excellent position on him was Brett Young.
Well, you know, there's some things that I don't want to say that Mike Kelly is making some bad calls, but he's got to make the initial call. Maybe Reggie Slack sees something at the line of scrimmage and makes an audible, but the deep pass hasn't been there. You've got to make some possession catches. You've got to make some first downs. You need to pick up 10 yards, keep this drive alive. Most importantly, get into the end zone. What they do now is either you score the touchdown now, try to kick the field goal later, but as they're doing, reverse it, kick the field goal now.
Westwood.
He slipped.
With the three-point effort, even though he did slip. But he kicked it out of the hold of Bob Cameron, and it's a 7-point game with 5:06 remaining. The Blue Bombers, with a tie, would move to the semifinal game against Baltimore. Westwood is fortunate that with the slip, he was able to put it through the uprights.
With very shades of Dave Bridgeway missing a field goal at Commonwealth Stadium. Take a look. They saw when he slipped it and he fell on his keister. They thought maybe he kicked it wide.
So now Andre Ware has come in. Pardon me, make it. Is it Andre Ware or Jay Messias? It is Andre Ware in at quarterback. And off to Richardson, and Kelly Rush has got him.
It's a good position to get him. Great defensive play up front. New quarterback in, new count. The quarterback slips coming out from behind the center. Richardson slips coming out, doesn't get a good takeoff. The only people that don't slip is Katie Williams in that defensive front four of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're all to welcome him and stop him for very little gain, if any.
4:39 the time remaining. Winnipeg Blue Bombers need a tie to advance to the semifinal against Baltimore, and Katie Williams trying to inspire this crowd of 27,000, trying to get them involved.
With a great situation, you've got a quarterback that's been standing on the sideline for 3.5 quarters. Second and long, he hasn't thrown a pass, and it is a passing down.
He was looking for Odessa Turner. Richardson a little slow in getting up. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with 4:22 remaining, are going to get this ball back. The Rough Riders, Dan, a couple of times this afternoon appeared to be in control of this football game.
There is some point that they really did. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers looked to be emotionally out of the ball game and out of it numbers-wise. But then there has been some big change in the momentum. The Mo has switched over to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right now. Bad kick.
Lamley's kick bouncing back towards the line of scrimmage, and it goes out of bounds at the 54. So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to scrimmage in excellent field position with 4:06 remaining.
And again, I'm just stating my opinion to the fact that this defense of Ottawa has not been to the deep pass a lot. Wilcox got one earlier in the ball game, but nothing after that. It still constitutes that Winnipeg is going to have to march this ball down the field with almost 4 minutes to go, pick up some first downs. Don't go for it all at one time.
Slack was able to escape the initial pressure. Now he's in trouble. Gets a block. Downfield pass, incomplete. Penalty flag. Emmanuel Martin had his back to the play as the pass was intended for Wilcox.
Emmanuel Martin actually pushed Wilcox off with his right hand as the ball was in the air, and it will be intentional pass interference at that spot. Big game, big break for Winnipeg.
It looked as though
pass interference. Ottawa, number 7, delivered. First down and point of foul.
It looked as though Slack was in huge trouble. He was able to escape.
Now, he gets out of the trouble, hangs the ball up. Martin doesn't see it. Watch the right arm. Pushes Gerald Wilcox away, knocks him down. He just does not pick up the ball. Crucial play for the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Winnipeg, 1st and 10 from the 26. Slack throwing deep. Incomplete. It was intended for Gerald Wilcox in the corner of the end zone.
I think that's Blaze Bryant down. It looked like he really came back to help Reggie Slack on a block. The post corner route, Brent Young doing a great job of coverage. There are almost 3 guys there with Remy Trudell over the top. Ray Bernard comes in after Slack has released the ball. No damage done there. You can see how Slack's eyes are focused down the field, trying to see if that was a reception or not.
And with the injury to Blaze Bryant, Reggie Slack goes over to the Winnipeg bench to talk to head man Cal Murphy. Blaze Bryant has had a difficult year. He hasn't been running with the same authority that he did in his previous stint in Winnipeg. Doesn't seem to have the same confidence that the hole is going to be there when he hits the line of scrimmage.
I think that's from our conversation the other day and talking with Mike Kelly. It's almost that there's just a slight hesitation of the running back, as opposed that he's looking for the hole, as opposed to having that real confidence that the hole's going to be there, take the handoff, and then get the ball up into the hole. There's a good block that he makes, and that's number 48.
Charlie
Clements, the ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber, gets his head down around in the knee area. Clements gives him a shot with that, with those knees, those powerful legs of him. And again, talked to James Curry on the sideline. He said that Blaze Bryant was taking some aspirin and he's having some headaches even when he came out after the second half. That will certainly help to give you a little bit more of a headache.
Well, he took the shot from Emmanuel Martin early in the second half and gets a knee to the helmet. Matt Pierce is into the ball game, replacing Blaze Bryant. It's 2nd and 10 Winnipeg, 3:02 remaining in the football game. The Bombers down by a touchdown. Slack steps up, throws complete. And on the receiving end, their go-to guy in almost every clutch situation, Gerald Wilcox.
And you said it properly, Mr. Clutch. In a situation where you need to make a first down, the guy you're going to go to, Gerald Wilcox.
2:54 remains at Winnipeg Stadium.
Welcome back to Winnipeg Stadium. It's been a total change of emotion down here on the Winnipeg sideline. The players are up there enthusiastic and cheering on their offense, where they were totally flat in the first half. Don?
Well, they have reason to be standing and cheering right now because the Bombers are 1st and 10 from the Ottawa 13-yard line. Movement at the line of scrimmage. Reggie Slack took off with the football, but the whistle had already gone.
Long snap count by Reggie Slack. Very smart offsides against Ottawa. And I think they're going to get Lloyd Lewis, 76.
Offside, Ottawa, number 76, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So Lloyd Lewis, who has played so strongly this afternoon, is guilty of jumping prior to the ball being snapped.
Right at the top of your screen, and Reggie did this on purpose. Went up there, the count went on like 4 or 5. The ball wasn't snapped, and the defensive guys anticipating the snap.
1st and 5 from the 8. Slack looking, throwing into the end zone, touchdown! Tim Daniel.
Somebody that was not been heard of very much through the course of this game, but in the crucial play, they go to Tim Daniels against the guy, number 7, Emmanuel Martin, who was called for that big pass interference call with.
Only the 2nd catch of the afternoon for Tim Daniel, but what a huge reception. And the point after by Troy Westwood, and this game is tied at 33. And the roller coaster of emotions from city to city. Here in Winnipeg, the Bombers and their fans enthusiastic. And a downcast Bobby Jurison looking on in Vancouver. The Rough Riders will be flying back home later this evening to Regina. And unless Ottawa can break this tie, their season is over in Saskatchewan.
Well, I don't want to say anything negative regarding Ottawa's chances, because as Bobby Jurison is watching out there, he's a real good friend of mine. I consider him that. But right now, the emotion swing has changed. Reggie Slack comes out, makes a good play as Tim Daniels finds the corner end zone against Martin. And a very happy quarterback, Reggie Slack. There is a major point, I think, that took place in the last series of plays with that is very crucial. There's 2:30 left to go in the ball game. If Sammy Garza was still the quarterback, I would say Ottawa stands a great chance getting this ball either in the field goal range or a possibility for a single. Quarterback coming out, and Andre Ware hasn't had a lot of experience right now. Been cold all day long, thrown one pass, and now all of that rust on his shoulders.
2:30 remaining here at Winnipeg Stadium. Bonner, the kickoff return man for Ottawa. And this Winnipeg team is playing with much more emotion. They are charged up now.
If you saw the kind of coverage that's going down there, Dale Lyles, Darius Watson, these guys were off of the ball, racing down there, and you try to think, where was that in the first quarter? Uh-oh, somebody heard me on the sideline, because there's Sammy Garza back in this ball game.
At one point, Ottawa held a 16-point lead. First and 10, Ottawa from the 31-yard line. 2:23 remaining. The game tied at 33. Garza to the sidelines, but the intended receiver, Odessa Turner, had slipped as he was trying to make his cut.
Odessa had the coverage out there, exactly what he wanted, a zone coverage. He came down, read the out route, was his call, did not get his feet up underneath him, and just slipped on this turf. That's about the second or third time that he has slipped during the course of running the route.
Garza has only managed one completion in his last 7 passing attempts. There's a guy who has played a whale of a football game today. Number 44, K.D. Williams of Winnipeg.
Nominee a Rookie of the Year.
Penalty flag too long in getting the play underway. A time count violation, Ottawa. The Rough Riders have not won a football game outside the province of Ontario since October 21, 1990.
Ottawa, number 15, lost the down, third down.
And it's third down, Ottawa, because it occurred in the final 3 minutes of the football game. So it is extremely costly to the Rough Riders.
Short kick again, Whit.
Lamley is racing up, trying to get to it. He may be there.
He got it.
Oh, it comes loose. Who's got it? Lamley came roaring up, dove for the football, but it bounced out from underneath him. Winnipeg's got it. Lamley almost made it, Kep.
What a gallant effort by Wayne Lamley to try to recover this very short kick. He got some advantage by the ball hitting the turf, bouncing back toward him. All the Winnipeg players standing around. There he is. He has an opportunity to squeeze it. It goes right through his hands. Here's a little better look at it, Don.
Well, with the ball loose, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers come up with the recovery. And we've got 2:09 remaining. A tie will send the Bombers into the postseason against Baltimore.
Well, as everybody knows in the Canadian Football League, 2:09 can be an eternity, and Winnipeg has not been exactly the greatest through the course of this game of making possession drives and making a lot of first downs. They're going to need to make 2 or 3 first downs.
I think Cal Murphy feels that if they get a couple of first downs, they'll be in the field goal range of Troy Westwood.
And it's unfortunate because Ottawa has already used their timeout when they had to change the return guy.
Charlie Clemens has been caught 3 times this afternoon in jumping before the ball was snapped. I think it might be Clemens again.
Offside, Ottawa, number 48, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
1st and 10, right at the top of your screen. Anytime that you get pumped up as a defensive player, you're trying to make a big play, trying to make something happen. There is an opportunity to be aggressive, but you have to be disciplined with your aggressiveness.
Troy Westwood thinking about the final 2:08 of this football game and what his role might be. There's the pass to Blaze Bryant down the sidelines and out of bounds. He's back in after being shaken up earlier, and he is complaining about a late hit after he had crossed the sideline.
Ottawa this time leaves the flat wide open. Blaze Bryant comes out, steps out of bounds, takes the shoulder from number 7. That's Emmanuel Martin, and a Martin just probably taking out a bit of frustration on Blaze Bryant because he's been victimized a couple of times in the course of this 4th quarter. Good blocking up front by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. These are guys that have a lot of years, and they have more pride than they do have years.
2:03 the time remaining. The handoff inside to Blaze Bryant. He breaks a couple of tackles, and he gets inside the 20-yard line. .157 the time left. 33-33. A tie or a win will send the Winnipeg Blue Bombers into the postseason. Mike Kelly, the offensive coordinator, signaling the play for Reggie Slack to call through Kevin McDougall on the sidelines.
Now look for Reggie to stay over the center a little while, see if he can draw up off sides again.
It was intended for Stigl. It was a one-hopper.
Cal Murphy, you can see the frustration on him. He had exactly the play set up. Stigl, the hitch screen again to him to the backside. All Reggie Slack had to do was get the ball somewhere in the vicinity where it was catchable. Instead, he short-hopped it.
So Reggie Slack now comes over to the bench to talk to Coach Cal Murphy. The injured ball player is Derek McCready.
Derek McCready got a big block, I think, again, by Dave Van Coen at the center, who was pulling out underneath on that hitch screen. Just at the left of your screen, gets the head in front, catches that knee, and that is a horrible angle to get hit at. Derek McCready feeling the pains of that cut block.
Talking about Dave Van Coen, offensive line coach Rod Humanuk says he's only missed 2 offensive assignments all season.
You know, I was talking about that. I said, how many plays do you think you've gone through in the course of the season? He says, I know exactly. It's 1,044 plays, and there's a man that's only been wrong twice. You know something? You and he have a lot in common. You've done probably like 10,044 games in your life.
Yeah, but I've been wrong a lot of times and made a lot of mistakes, Jeff.
Well, at least I can strive to get to your level. I made a lot more mistakes.
1:33 the time remaining as Derek McCready, shaken up for the 2nd time in this football game, heads off. Paul Yatkowski comes in as his replacement.
See, Derek's a little upset with that, and he may have good reason just at the angle that Van Coen made that cut block on him. Could have felt it was a clip from behind.
The coaching staffs grade out offensive linemen after every game.
Big Dave, a substitute teacher. Today, he's given a good lesson.
And off to Blaze Bryant. Bryant gets it down to the 10-yard line. Now they are, depending on the measurement, if they don't have it, just inches away. Third down coming up. What do you do?
Kick the field goal.
1:27 remaining.
Kick the field goal, take the points right now. If it's short like this, forget it. We don't even get to talk about it. First down, Winnipeg.
Bryant got just enough. Well, you talk about guys coming back after being knocked around earlier in this football game. Blaze Bryant on this drive has made some major contributions after going out for a couple of plays after taking the hit from Emmanuel Martin.
And they've done it with the rushing game. I'm trying to figure out where that was there the first quarter.
Bryant again, he takes it down to the 6-yard line. He's getting work on this drive with 1:09 remaining. Bryant has picked up 35 yards since coming back. And now Matt Pierce comes into the ball game. Chris Johnstone comes out.
Blaze Bryant's a guy that's always turned out great numbers. Last year, 94, 1,289 yards, 10 touchdowns in 16 games before he went out with a torn ACL joint.
Second down from the 7-yard line. Slack drives straight ahead and takes it down to the 3-yard line, or maybe it's only the 4, but with 46 seconds remaining and on third down, Cal Murphy is going to send out Troy Westwood and the field goal unit. And one of the advantages Westwood does have from this range, even if it's wide, it's going to go through the end zone for a single point. But they've got it directly in front of the goalpost.
Exactly where they wanted it for as far as lining the field goal up properly. More importantly, when they kick it, whether it's a single or whether it's 3 points, Ottawa is going to go against this win.
And they're going to use as much time as possible. Westwood's kick is up. It is good. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a 36-33 lead.
What's important now is all the excitement and all the enthusiasm and all the emotion that we're hearing and what you're seeing with the players out there. On both sides, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have to realize that's what it takes. If you get into a playoff situation, you have to play 60 minutes with that kind of emotion.
And you see the reaction at the bench on the successful Westwood field goal, giving the Bombers the lead for the first time since the second quarter when they were in front by a score of 7-3. Garza's pass over the middle intended for Alexander and Christensen in the same area, knocked down by John Moten.
John Moten in the vicinity, getting a chance to play the middle linebacker position. A number of years at the Hamilton Ticats, played the middle linebacker position before Michael O'Shea came in there, but he showed his great athletic ability by being able to move to the outside. Now this week, he was moved to the middle for this game against Ottawa.
20 seconds remaining. Garza keeps and is going to be stopped about 3 yards short of a first down. Initially, he was looking over to the sidelines for the team's leading receiver, Odessa Turner. Found that he was covered by Poole. And now with 14 seconds remaining.
Well, Ottawa's doing something pretty smart right now. The old veteran, James Ellingson, is taking a knee, getting some attention medically to give Ottawa a little chance to get in the huddle, recoup some composure, and try to get on the same page for their next play.
But I think at this stage, Cal Murphy and the Bomber coaching staff would be quite happy to see Sammy Garza trying to run, because they need a pass really to get into field goal range.
The Concerned look on the sideline of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, especially on the face of Cal Murphy. Here it is, folks.
14 seconds on the clock. And the clock starts to run as Garza steps up, throws over the middle. Richardson makes the catch. There's a penalty flag in the play, and another penalty flag after the tackle was made with 5 seconds remaining.
First call is going to be face mask and offsides, both against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Crucial penalties. Thankfully for the Bombers, there is only 5 seconds left to go.
Can they run 2 plays in this time?
Offside, Winnipeg, number 99. Face mask, Winnipeg, number 44. 20 yards penalty. First down, Ottawa.
The 20 yards will take the ball down to the Winnipeg 47-yard line. 5 seconds remaining.
It's time for a field goal, I think, Whit, or a punt.
Wayne Lamley was a little slow in getting on the field, but this will be, if it's successful, a 56-yard field goal, and Winnipeg has called a timeout.
That's a crucial play right there. I'm not sure if Winnipeg had not, I'm sure they weren't prepared for the field goal attempt, but had they not called a timeout and that much confusion for Ottawa, they didn't have anybody on, they could have got a time count violation and a loss of down. Am I correct? I'm asking that, big guy.
I think you might be correct there, Kep, because
wait, so you said you don't make mistakes.
Lamley was over on the sidelines, and and he wasn't. It didn't appear as though he was ready to come onto the field.
And I mean, there's no sense in sending the punter out to kick and he's the punter also, to kick a single. I mean, they're down by 3.
And now they're sending the field goal unit off to the sidelines. And Garza is staying out there. They're going to try and take advantage of what Winnipeg had adjusted to, but the pass intended for Ken Abraire is incomplete, and now Jim Gilstrap sends his field goal unit back out with 1 second remaining.
There's your 2 plays that you're trying to get. It had to be hot. It had to be quick. Sammy Garza had to dump it off. He threw it behind the intended receiver. He was just trying to pick up an extra 8 or 10 yards if he could, maybe even 6 yards, to make this field goal just a little shorter.
But had Abraire caught the ball, by the time he downed it, the time may have expired.
You're exactly right.
To tie the game from 55 yards out, the kick is partially blocked at the line of scrimmage. Penalty flags go down as Winnipeg recovers, but it really won't matter because the Bombers are heading to the playoffs with a 36-33 victory over the Ottawa Rough Riders. Their opponent next Saturday afternoon on CBC television at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, the Stallions, the Grey Cup finalists of a year ago.
With the Winnipeg Blue Bombers showed a tremendous amount of character of coming from behind, and also at a time some crucial penalties against Ottawa enabled them to make this victory a big success for Winnipeg and the community.
Well, disappointment, I know, for the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, particularly when Ottawa jumped into the lead here at Winnipeg Stadium. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers dashed any hopes the Riders had. They controlled their own destiny, and they are headed for the postseason once again. Now let's go down to Scotto.
All right, here's Reggie Slack, and it's nuts down here already. Reggie, it looked for the longest while like you guys were out of this today. How did you get back in it?
Well, we just came in at halftime, and we knew what we had to do. We had to come out focused for the second half. We had 30 minutes of football to play, and it was all up to us whether or not we were going to go home or go down to Baltimore. We decided that we wanted to go down to Baltimore.
Do you agree that Ottawa played with more emotion than you guys, at least for the first half of this game?
Well, Ottawa came out. They played hard. They played tough. We weren't executing the first half. We had some missed opportunities up the field. We just came out of second half, said we needed to get focused, and that's what we did.
Was the adjustment to the 7 series going with the short passes that you spoke to Mike Kelly about the turning point in this game?
I'm sorry?
Adjusting to the 7 series, the short, quick passes, was that the turning point?
I think so. You know, second half we came out, we started hitting our backs underneath. Their linebackers were dropping 10, 12 yards downfield. Blaze Bryan got involved in the game. He had a great second half, and we were able to control the football and put some points on the board.
What about the date with Baltimore now? Quickly, the date with Baltimore.
We got to get focused. We got to get focused. Go down, play Baltimore, play them tougher than we played them the first time.
Thank you, Reggie. And so the Bombers make it 16 straight years in the playoffs, the result of a 36-33 win over Ottawa.